good afternoon, Virgin Islanders. Yes, this is your Wednesday host, Mary Moorhead, at your most popular WSTX 970 AM. Don't move that dial. Okay, it's a beautiful day in St. Croix, if any of you haven't noticed. And those of you who I'm very sorry might be a little chilly now where you at. Hey, well, it's nice and sunny and just absolutely beautiful in St. Croix. Wish you were here. Hope you're coming for the holidays because you know we're always festive. So hopefully you got those tickets already because I'm hearing airfare is sky high. Sorry about that. You know you have to plan ahead. Anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, we're going to have a special guest today beginning at 1 o'clock. Yes, tell your friend, tell your neighbor, tell everybody. Because according to him, he's coming with some hot facts, the politics naturally. And I'm referencing to Mr. Edward Brown, PhD, Dr. Brown. He will be here at 1 o'clock to stay with me for the rest of the afternoon because he has factual information to share. Now, you know, when it's out, we don't deal with Malero here, we deal with facts. It's all about making sure to inform and educate our audience, especially where the politics is concerned, because next year is an election year, and we have to make sure to get it right. Okay? And let me put a little plug personally. Hello, at top position, folks. Governor, I'm looking for a Crucian. Okay? Hello. And I'm saying that now because I do hope a qualified, credible, committed Crucian is coming. And folks, it's time for Crucian. It's really time for Crucian. We can't continue this way being put on the back burner by the Centomians who always promise, 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 but never deliver because, hello, your home is where the heart is, and that's where it always turns out to be whenever we deal with these Centomians. First and foremost, at my position, and it has to be a crucian because we got to get it right with agriculture. And it got to be a crucian to understand that we need to invest in all this land that we have here, all this farmland that we have on St. Croix, that back in the day, and I'm talking about back in the Danish time, got St. Croix the name of the Garden of the West Indies. Okay, we can be the garden again. We can be the garden of the territory, garden of our region, but we have to have the leadership who understands the importance of food security, who understands the importance of growing your own, who understands that life will be more valuable and more healthy if we have can grow what we need to eat. Okay, let me not forget the numbers are 340-773-0390 and 340-773-0490. Anytime you want to tap in and contribute and ask a question, make a comment, whatever. Now, folks, probably next week I will be sharing some information with you where education is concerned. And I'm saying next week because we're still in the middle, well, coming on to the end. And I'm talking about the visitations that we're making to every single public school facility on the island of St. Croix. We already did St. Thomas, and now we're working our way through those on St. Croix. And, we're finding some of the same things, particularly, particularly. And folks, I don't know how we're going to address it, but you need to understand that internet, the internet The lack of a dependable internet connection in our public school facilities is really hampering. It is hampering the education system. Okay? So all you out there who want to brag about what you know, what you understand, where digital technology is concerned, hello, you need to start then making yourself involved with a public school facility. Reason being, that's where you start to maybe understand what is going on, why, for decades. And I say decades, because ever since we got internet, ever since internet became a thing, we can't give constant, dependable connection to our schools. And make sure you understand this is territory wide. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Now, folks, that's why I get pissed every time we have administration that talks about going to Atlanta, to New York, to wherever the hell they go, to solicit businesses, companies to come set up in the Virgin Islands. Because one of the big things that I understand is that part of their pitch is the fact that we have this fiber optic capability. And my thing is, and folks, yeah, disclaimer, all right, I'll let you know up front. I always say I am not necessarily technology savvy, but I know enough to know that if we as a territory, when we bragging about the fact that we have this fiber optic capability, how the heck is it possible that nobody can figure out how to just have a capable, sustainable, dependable internet connections in our public schools? Folks, that problem is even contributing to the scores that we see on these smart and balanced and thinking because the lack of dependable connection affects the testing. As I understand it, the children will be in the middle of something, the blasted thing go down, and then next thing you know, according to what I'm told, they can't just turn on and keep going. They got to start over. Now, tell me if that isn't frustrating and then will definitely affect the mental and emotional stability of the child, which then will naturally be reflected in the performance on the test. So, people, I need for all you parents that have a child in public school. And when I say all, like talking all, St. John, St. Thomas, St. Croix, you need to get in these schools and start demanding from education. And I'm talking when it's education, I'm not talking the principals. I'm talking about yes, you're in the schools, but you are addressing that the principals put pressure for their supervisors, the superintendent, the commissioner, to do something about getting internet connection to be dependable. Now, according to the leaderships in the school, it gone from bad to worse. Let me tell you why. Before the contract uh, for the schools connectivity was with broadband. Okay, this year, and I don't recall how and why it happened. The contract is with Via. Now, let me make sure to point out something because I speak to people who know about technology. Like I said, I don't know, but I have common sense. You explain something to me, I understand. And I am understanding that it is not these people who are the problem, not these companies, because they supply the service to the facility. It is then the IT division of the Department of Education that is responsible for the supply of the connectivity from coming into the facility. And seemingly, I don't want to say that, but I'll be honest, it was my position that whoever is in that division don't know what the hell they're doing. But I was told by a worker while in the St. Thomas district, okay, that the problem is a lack of proper equipment and no money to get the equipment. So we're dealing with all overuse, uh, you know, uh, equipment that is giving problem. Now, here's my thing. We had all them uh, federal monies, okay, and I know that definitely federal monies are capable to be used for something like technology, something like internet connection. So my call out, and I am telling you, parents, guardians, supporters of education, put the pressure on for the commissioner to up the money to supply the IT division with what is needed. First and foremost, let's make sure that the people who are in the division know what they're doing. Okay? And I'm saying that because while I am encouraging that they get the equipment, the funds that they need to get the equipment that they need, I am not about throwing good money after bad. Okay? Because my thing is, yes, it may be that it is 90% of the problem is equipment, but I do feel that there must be some little thing wrong with personnel too, because it can't be all equipment. Okay. And I'm saying that because, especially when we talk about technology, there's usually, some MacGyvering that you can do. Now, I might be wrong. This being as sensitive as it is, and I'm talking about internet connection, maybe that is not MacGyvering situations are not possible in this situation. So I stand to be corrected. But my thing is, still, let's make sure, okay? And I don't know who would be the ones to make sure. I guess maybe BIT, because BIT is the overarching umbrella which all departments of the government are under where the technology is concerned. So maybe the people at BIT would be able to assess if indeed the personnel we have in the internet division at the Department of Education are the right people. Okay? Once that is determined, then yes, we definitely need to have the commissioner put make available whatever, and I'm saying whatever because folks, this is not a situation where you want to skimp. Okay, this is not a situation where you want to say, you just would like to get the best deal you can get. No, where internet is concerned, whatever it costs, pay it, pay it because it impacts so many things that are important in the instruction and learning of our education system of our children. So it's not something to be pinching pennies with. Spend the money. If it's $1 million in need, spend $1 million. If it's 2 million, whatever, spend the money. Let's get the internet connection steady, accessible, and dependable for every single public school facility in the territory of the Virgin Islands of the United States. That's my position, and that is my request of all parents, guardians, and supporters of public school education for the new year of 2026. Get with it, people. Our children are falling behind too serious. Yes, they're making gains, but the gains they're making are so minute that it's best they don't even call them gains. Okay? And as I said, the internet lack of proper connectivity has a lot to do with it. Okay, a lot of our teachers are using these Promethean boards. The Promethean boards depend on internet connectivity. A lot of our children need to deal with iReady program. The iReady is on the what they call it, the Chromebook, the iPad, the tablet, whatever it is that they're giving the children to use in order to follow the iReady program. It still needs internet connection. Okay. Now, as I told you last week, there are some administrators in the St. Thomas, St. John section, well, specifically it was St. Thomas, who uh, went in their pocket to pay for these I no, again it wrong, to pay for these my five. Okay. Now I them there in St. Thomas, they even have it in the kids count data. St. Thomas make more money than people in St. Croix, so they can afford to do that. And I praise them for doing that because that is something that they're contributing out of their personal pocket. Praise the Lord for that. They can afford to do that. In St. Croix, things hard. I meet not one single school yet where administrator said that they paying for any MiFi for any school, any classroom. Okay? And I am not holding that against them because, as I said, things harder in St. Croix. I am one, believe me, read the kids count data. And there was something on the news the other night, especially. It's up to like $10,000 to $15,000 difference, something like that. Hold on. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on the air.
Miss Mohammed, how are you today?
Blessed and highly favored. Hope you are safe.
I am too. I have a few questions for you because I'm listening to your conversation.
I hope I have some answers. And by the way, just allow me 1 second to let the audience know Dr. Brown, the great Dr. Brown, is in the studio with me. Go ahead there.
Great. So welcome to Dr. Brown as well. First of all, does the EDC companies, is there a prerequisite that they're supposed to give back to the school?
The EDCs, yeah, it in the law, they does give for this the financial aid for the board, and that it's an amount really that I have been telling the board to write the legislature to ask for it to be increased. Well, I am sitting on a board that don't like to cause waves, but yes, they do give. But the thing is, they give to education, so it isn't that they have to give to the public school. A lot of them are give to private, and that's the problem too.
Okay, well, I beg to differ. I think we need to have that adjusted and spoken about because we gave away $300 million in tax benefits to one individual in the Virgin Islands, and that money could have been used to do exactly what you're talking about.
You ain't,
Benefiting the school.
you ain't got no argument from me. I with you on that one.
So, I think we really need to have that conversation in reality with the ED who's in charge of that and how these monies are being given out. in reference to one via by telco, whatever entity it wishes to call itself. It has been here for a while, so I don't see why we are having to pay for these MiFi. Again, as a company that gets tax benefits, I think a lot of things are being mishandled and not handled appropriately, and we are paying the cost.
Let me just clarify one thing, because
Okay.
when I mentioned about, and that, as like I said, that experience I ran into in the island of St. Thomas, that I think it was like 2 to 3 schools where a particular administrator was paying out of their pocket for and I believe it was a school. Yes, it was. It was the school that they're referring to as a champion school. I don't know if you remember that there was a media blitz that there are 3 schools in St. Croix and 3 schools in St. Thomas St. John that are on contract with a particular company that is being supportive insofar as trying to help them with their teachers being properly supported in order to deal with this deficiency that we have in across the board with our children. So this particular schools, because they're in with that contract, it is important that they have, particular for those classes that are being helped and supported, that they have the dependable connection. Now I don't know that the MiFi's come from specifically have to do with Via. Where I mentioned Via because Via has the contract to supply the connection to the facility. But make sure you understand that I have been told over and over in the past couple of years that the problem with the lack of connection is not what happens coming to the facility, is what happens inside the facility. So let's say via, or it was broadband before, was given this the connection to the facility, but it is the department IT division that is not doing the proper wiring, the proper whatever within the facility, that is where the problem exists.
Okay, Mr. Mohammed. So with that said, I think that we also need then to verify what is the legal entity, because as far as we all know, there is no more entity called VIA. We now have an entity called One.
Oh yeah.
So who has this contract? What does this contract say? Every time they change hands, things change. Who is following the checker? And then my last statement is that I knew about 20 years ago, after a hurricane, St. Croix has the dubious recognition of having an underwater cable to provide internet service all the way around the world. Why aren't we using that to the benefit that we have? What's happening with that?
Well, that's the fiber optic that they always bragging about when they go out to Atlanta, New York, and whatnot, soliciting businesses and companies to come to the territory. But that is what I was saying. It always pissed me off that they bragging on this fiber optic, but our schools can't get a simple internet connection. But nobody ever has an explanation for me. Only explanation is they tell me you don't understand technology enough to know there's a difference between fiber optic and internet connection, and I don't leave it alone because, to tell you the truth, I am limited.
No, well, I am not computer literate to that degree as well, but I know that the two can coexist uniformly. So again, we need answers to these questions. Maybe we all need to sit down and write a letter, galvanize, and say, can you explain this? What does this entity provide? How much money are you getting from this group of people in reference to the schools? I think we need clarity and consistency and accountability on that.
Well,
that's all I have to give today.
And just before you go, let me make sure to use it to make it clear that this lack of dependable internet connection to our schools is really seriously hampering the education system, really, because everything now, the majority of things that are happening in classrooms depend on connection. Not so, Mr. Brown? Join me there for me.
Yeah, well, good afternoon.
And it's going to get worse because Trump is already saying if the children have internet at home, they're going to lose certain benefits. So we need the internet in the schools so
Okay. Good afternoon.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
All right, bye-bye.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Miss Moore, you hit it on the head. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Edward L. Brown. This is my free time, Miss Moorhead. I would have to say that. Because people hear me and then they don't want to call commissioner, superintendent. They ain't calling me.
I think I mentioned before that you come in on your own
This
time.
is always
but,
my own
yeah,
time.
yeah.
This I don't, go and run and go back and no. I either take my time, so nobody has to worry about when I'm using the government time to be on the radio. I do what is right. In reference to the caller made some excellent points, Ms. Moore. We've talked about that, me and you, on air and off the air. And the IT folks in the department are wonderful people. The buildings are old. The wiring is old. The electrical grid is old. And we're loading up the grid more and more and more with all of these devices. And now we're looking, as you just mentioned, to connect with that cable possibly from Virginia to St. Croix on to Ghana or Nigeria, or Ghana and Nigeria, and trying to use that service as well. So I'm not surprised that Via or one or whoever is saying, yeah, we're giving you the bandwidth, all of this stuff practically for free. But then when it gets to the school base, it's becoming a problem with the connectivity. And again, I can't speak for the Department of Education, but I see the IT folks there frequently doing what they need to do. But again, the schools are old, the wiring is old, the electrical grid is old. So the more you put on, as the caller rightfully said, the more you put on, it's going to have severe problems on the system.
But we gotta find a solution because it is definitely impacting the education.
Correct.
It is definitely. Insofar as the iReady, they can. I mean, because the iReady, you need the internet connection in order to do it.
Right.
So it's
And then
it's,
that ties into the cell phone usage. Then that whole issue where if it's down and the children need to learn, they go on the cell phone. The teacher say yes, a child does something he or she is not supposed to do, and we have another set of problems.
and even in the security because
Of course.
when the internet isn't thing, our phone, and I ain't know how that come about, but seemingly all the telephones in the public schools are connected by internet. So when the internet go down, folks, you can't even call 911.
You know, we have to address it.
Yeah.
We have to get this problem resolved. I know the department, the folks have talked about it in the Senate. The senators have brought it up, but as you said in the call, we got to solve it now. It's not just talk for decades. We got to solve it. This is real, and it's only going to get worse because the more that we use the technology now, it is AI, and AI consumes a lot of energy, a whole lot. And so we got to do it. It's just,
and I'm hearing people who are supposedly going looking to be aspirants that referencing AI where education is concerned, and I'm thinking to myself, how the hell you talking about AI and we on an internet connection?
But it's as you said, and I agree with you when you said we need to have a committee dealing specifically with technology. We need a senator, who is going to be on that committee and chair that committee. This should have been done years ago. We talk, it's all interconnected. You cannot get away from the technology. Whether it's the airport, schools, hospitals, it's everywhere. So we need to have competent folks, in the legislature, in government house, in the judiciary too, because people are doing all kind of wrong things now with we saw and we know through social media and the internet, all of these things. So you need to have a chairperson in the Senate creating laws, working with the colleagues to make sure that we address all of these issues in a collective manner. This is how I see it. But Ms. Moore, I'm here today to talk about three things. Folks, hold on. You know me already. I talk how I talk. And the first one is going to be in response to what's going on with the Jeffrey Epstein. And all of this ties into education, as the caller had mentioned with the EDC program, and I'll get into that. The second one, of course, Ms. Moore, as the last time we talked about the ships coming in, and the Navy ships are here. What? They're more than here. The Gerald R. Ford in St. Thomas. We had the Fort Lauderdale, the Iwo Jima. They're here, and they're here to stay. And then finally, to talk about what's going on in regards to some of the changes on the federal level in regards to funding for higher education, which we've talked about, which are really a serious issue. So, You want me to begin with the delegate?
Begin
Mr.
wherever
Epstein?
you want to begin.
Okay, folks. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. You heard me with Miss Carol Burke, my good friend, for state chair of the Democratic Party, and I mentioned at that time that folks don't realize that the EDC, the EDA, the EDC benefits that are given out could be in big trouble. And as the caller mentioned before, the EDC, these companies that are here, they give money. Sometimes we don't know how much they give, but apparently that money goes to schools, to the hospitals, to the infrastructure and all the other things that exist here in the territory.
And the problem, just to put a little pin right there, Mr. Brown, the problem for years have been, and I'm saying for years because I remember the first one who used to bang on that issue all the time was that Delbert Bryan.
Yeah.
His thing was that we don't do a comparison, we don't do a study to see when we give and you get certain amount of benefits from the EDA, compare them to what you make. Okay, how much are we giving up and really denying ourselves in order to allow you to just profit and you're not contributing back?
Well, this is the dilemma now with the Jeffrey Epstein saga, because I mentioned at the end of that, and Ms. Burke had mentioned before, and she was the host, of course. So I'm expecting the host, and Michael wasn't there. I talked about she wanted to talk about children and some things that she was doing, which I think you heard that conversation, Ms. Moorhead, and so I respected that. That was never a problem. And then the delegate, she did it. They were trying to censor her and take her off of the Intelligence Committee, and that failed. And there were individuals who spoke on her right to due process. They did not speak on behalf of her.
That's what you got to make clear. So that again, Mr. Brown, in a simpler way.
They spoke on her right to due process. Due process in the Congress means there's an ethics committee, there are different other committees that may have hearings, investigations, all of those things.
Testimonies from witnesses or whatever. Yeah.
And they wanted to skip all of that and jump to just censoring her and taking her off.
And that is why the majority of the Democrats supported her and voted to keep her, for her to keep her seat, because she was not allowed due process. It was not necessarily that they were in any way supportive of what she did or what she was accused of doing.
No, Representative Jamie Ranskin from Maryland, who spoke about the right to due process, and he always speaks about that when these sorts of issues happen. He mentioned in an interview with CNN that there were no charges, criminal, civil, or ethical violation to text someone. And if folks need to understand, according to what Pamela Brown for CNN has been saying repeatedly over the last several weeks, it was our delegate who texted Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, not Jeffrey Epstein got up on his own and text her.
Yep.
And the delegate don't really say much about that, but that's what's out there repeatedly, and she hasn't denied it. So let's just be clear. And even Ms. Carol Burke said the same thing. She made a statement. I had to read it twice just to make sure I was right in my first analysis. But she did not support Stacey Plaskett or the Democratic. They supported her right to due process, and that, as Ms. Burke said repeatedly, she supported what the minority speaker for the House, Hakeem Jeffries, mentioned in regards to his statement on behalf of the delegates' right to due process.
You know, the issue that when you were having that conversation, that I was wondering about, how many of the people in positions with the Democratic Party locally have the delegate to Congress cell number?
I don't have it, and I text her, well, up until about 2-3 years frequently.
Yeah.
She texts me back, but I don't have her number.
But I'm wondering if if this Carol have it. She's
the state chair.
Exactly. So. She's well. Hello.
I assume so.
That's why I was asking the question: how many of those people in those positions with the party have the delegate's number? Because it is strange that here comes this gentleman out of the blue, wherever, and all of a sudden, those of us who are here, and let's make sure we understand, folks, he didn't vote for her, because Epstein was not a registered voter in the Virgin Islands.
What? You for real?
What was his permanent residency?
Well,
In
this is
Florida?
well, I gonna surprise you then, Miss Mohammed. This is why I said, folks, this is why I've been saying for the last year, and I stand my ground. I have said it repeatedly that I believe the delegate. You know, I said it on your program. Michael, for everybody, I believe she should step down. I respect the voters, and I know the nation is not going to listen to me. Can you probably say, who is he? You know, the voters voted for me, and I have the right to. But this is going to get nasty, and it's going to look bad because Mr. Ranskin said, these are his exact words, I was not morally defending her. He also said nobody should be involved with $1 billion international global child sex trafficking ring. That was right after he said I was not morally defending her, meaning Stacey E. Plaskett, our delegate to Congress. So this is the issue. In 2008, in the state of Florida, Jeffrey Epstein was found guilty in reference to solicitation of prostitution with a minor, right? And in about 2009, he was in New York, and the judge at that time said to him, Mr. Epstein, I want you to register. You're going to be registered as a level 3 sex offender, which is the highest level, which means that you're more than likely to recommit this crime, and you have to check in 90 days. Mr. Epstein told the judge, well, Your Honor, my residency isn't New York. My residency is the Virgin Islands. The judge was like, what? He said, I'm telling you, my residency is the Virgin Islands. The New York officials, which I guess when they testify in the upcoming weeks and months in the House and the Senate or whatever, they've already said, I read it like 2 days ago, they've said, we did everything in New York that was proper. We had him as a level 3 sex offender. We had him to take pictures. We had everything that he was supposed to do. He left New York and went to the Virgin Islands. That's not our jurisdiction. What they did in the Virgin Islands, you got to ask them.
But let's make sure that the listening audience understand, even if his residency was the Virgin Islands, okay, that does not necessarily mean nor mandate that he was registered voter in the Virgin Islands.
Correct. That is correct.
Because there's no requirement for you to be a registered voter in order to get EDA benefits or anything of the sort.
But all of that needs to be looked at. Because it has to be looked at, because then the delegate, she put out a statement.
She said he's a country, but he was a part of our constitution because of his residency.
Correct.
But that does not mean that he was registered to vote in the Virgin Islands, because we have many people who have residency in the Virgin Islands and don't vote in the Virgin Islands.
So it brings up the whole issue of him being here and doing the things that he did, which now brings up all kind of moral and ethical issues. And again, folks need to understand, this is in the court, folks. In the court, you have burden of proof, criminal and civil. The court system, as me and you, we know, is very, very difficult. And you have to deal with jurisdiction, you have to deal with venue, you have to deal with evidence, you have to deal with whether it's the court or the Congress or the executive. It is hard to win in court, especially if you're trying to do it by yourself. As me and you, we know. In the Congress, again, there's that due process ethical committee, but out here in the general public, it's about trust and judgment. And so Delegate Plaskett put out a statement after she did the interview with Pamela Brown on CNN, and Pamela Brown asked, so you have any remorse? She said she's moving forward. The next day came out, and it came out from one of the international online publications that he abused over 1,000 women and children. I want to say that again. That's what they know. But he traveled the world. He went every corner of the world.
There are those that they don't know.
And when they found in his home in Florida, they found 50. This is the police. All of this is online, folks. You could go look it up. They found 50 images of young girls and one boy, which I've said before many times. I believe he molested boys and young men. And I will stand that. It's just what we can talk about. We more open in the US about some of these. Many other countries, you can't talk these things, you know, that you were, it just doesn't happen. So who knows how many he molested violently. Some
Yeah.
of these violent incidents that happened, especially on Little St. James. And so the delegate said in a follow-up interview, she said he was a demon. And she said, I guess she responded to me, because I'm the one talking about the EDA, or maybe others are, but I know I am. And she mentioned that she was not there in 1999 when he first came, or whenever he started receiving benefits, because he received tax benefits from 1999 to 2012. She said she was not there when he got the initial benefits. Correct. She said she was not there when he got recertified. Correct, in 2012 or so. But Delegate Plaskett was there from 2006 to 2012. She was there in 2008 as the legal counsel when he was convicted in Florida.
Mhm.
She was the legal counsel, the general counsel. And for folks who don't know what general counsel does, part of their job is
So
risk management.
investigate, yeah.
Risk
So
management.
you must investigate applicants.
Applicants.
Yeah.
And it is well known, it was all around the world that he was convicted for solicitation of prostitution with a minor. So then now I'm listening to her and I'm saying, but wait a minute, you're the one for risk management. That's my point. My point ain't about anything personal. Like I don't get into that. I'm looking at your performance and your judgment.
You know, I will offer this, and this is because, and I'm sorry I got rid of that email, but I remember when the issue came up with the distribution with the donations and whatnot, and I did write the delegate an email suggesting that she should not be involved in that, and her response was he served his time, because this was
Really?
after the thing. So that might have been her way of thinking. If found guilty, you get penalized. You
Wow.
get whatever judgment, and you deal with the judgment, and that is over. That is supposed to be forgotten.
But
Because
wow.
to be perfectly honest, I didn't follow up on them because I thought that was weird. He served his time. So it's like, and that will apply depending on the
Yes,
offense.
on the offense.
But that don't apply with me at all when you're talking about abusing minors.
minors. That's it.
So
That, and
I don't care what time you serve, what your compensation you do or whatever to pay back, or what, it doesn't count when you're dealing
but this is
with minors.
But this is where I'm having a problem. Who, and this was under Vincent Fraser with the Attorney General at that time. I'm not saying he signed off on it. I want to know who signed off on him being a level 1 sex offender here. He was a level 3 in New York. When he got here, they classified him as a level 1. This is again in public knowledge all around the world.
Yeah.
How did he get to level 1? Level 1 is like an annual report, a check-in, and that's it. So how you go from 3 to 1?
That would have had to been somebody in the police department.
Whoever is the person responsible
because
for
when
that.
you're reporting to the police department. Well, let me ask: are you reporting to the police department or the Department of Justice?
But that's what I'm asking. That's what I need to find out.
Whichever division he was supposed, you're supposed
somebody
to
have to
to,
sign it.
that would be the result. But I think because whenever I hear about people not, but the two work
They
together.
look for them.
The two work together. So
Yes,
it could be the Department of Justice as well as the police.
Right. So this is to what the caller was saying. Mr. Epstein made about $218 or $219 million reportedly. Some have said it's maybe as high as $3 million. I believe it might be even higher than $3 million, to be honest with you. I believe he spent more than $1 billion in his global network. He had people in every corner of the world to satisfy his needs. When he got there, his needs were met. Russia, wherever, he had everybody, set up for him. So you're looking at it for that 13 years of benefits here. That's $16.9 million. This is to your question. What he was running the refinery? How do you make $16.9 million?
Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, Mary and Dr. Brown.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I was just thinking as I just tuned in, Mohead Brown sounds like a very good gubernatorial.
We ain't going into there, and don't be misleading my audience because they need to understand and don't be misleading. This is not the miseducator. Okay? A team has to be made of a centonia, one from each district. So don't let we go there. We ain't interested in that know-how.
Oh, he's in Morehead Brown.
Yeah, but the point is, I want the listening audience to know the governor, a gubernatorial lieutenant governor team by BI code, that's by organic act.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, but I know it has to be one from each district. Keep going now. Hello, we're moving.
I'm moving. I'm moving.
Like I just said, I ain't interested. I am where I am quite I don't even know if I content either in the board of education because I start getting sick of them over there. But go ahead.
Well, no, I'll tell you the truth. Both of you doing from your vantage point. You don't need to go to the government also do that. You're doing a good job.
That's it.
But let me say this. I don't know if I suspect that both you get pop-up on your phone. And I just received a pop-up. It was just like 5 minutes ago. CNN, where they say more pictures, photos of this Epstein couple has been released.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what the files that they're releasing?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
You know, Donald Trump is best to not have the files released, but then what he says now, it was to protect Democrats. Because a lot of Democrats like us. But the thing is this though. Yesterday, not yesterday, it was a Tuesday, and Tuesday was yesterday.
Yes.
And your brother show, and Mario show yesterday. If it wasn't yesterday, then it was a show last week. Or Thursday with a big Thanksgiving. Anyway, and a previous show yesterday, whatever. The subject came up with regards to the photo of Epstein very passionately public safety glasses. And being that he's such a tall man, whatever God gave him to have been resting right on the, what you call it. However, this social miseducator needs the only reason known to her. I don't know. I don't know if you all know. She needs to protect Casey. And she said it's an AI generated photo. Now she can't explain why she's saying that, but she's saying that because she needs to protect the people of the Virgin Islands. What she should be doing is protecting us from the likes of safety glasses. By the way, let me ask one of you guys. I have seen Stacey with a gentleman in DC that they claim to be her husband, but she's not carrying a married name, which a lot of women do. They say for professional reasons. Do you any of you know her husband's last name?
You're asking a question that's personal. I know his last name, but I won't say it. I won't say it on here. I'll tell you after here. Yes.
No, because she has never used it.
She never used it.
She has never, ever have I heard her use a husband's name.
Yes. So.
Okay, I understand that, but I don't understand what that's about.
Well, the point is, if she's never used it, while we might know it, it is not in our position to say it.
That's right.
Because, you know, she's... Excuse me?
I don't use it. I don't use it to Travieso. I'm a human name. And you don't call me it's possible. Please, give me a break.
It's possible.
Stop this processing of good for nothing thinking of the misleaders. Why protect them? Anyway.
It is a matter of protection.
But then, okay, now let me tell you my question. I do not need to protect AC. you gave them you forgive them on a tax holiday. You don't have to pay $350 million in tax pay. Why? Dr. Fung, do you have any tax holiday? Maybe you have any? I have any? No.
I pay taxes every year.
Yeah,
But he needs to have it. Why?
right.
That's a sex predator, trafficker, pedophile, a stinking, nothing nasty man that should be shot at sight. He needs to have it. Because as my brother said so. Give me a break. We have to stop this thing. I will tell you how to minute. I have tried to warn the people at the Virgin Islands about things that I know. And I'm very close to the youth man them in the street.
So
And the governor-
what you going? What warning you going to give us now?
Well, I'm not coming to you. The youth man them is not going to put up with the foolishness that we adults put up with. They're not going to do it. So we better, in español, preparar su culito. You prepare your advance because they're not going to put up with it. And that's the thing I'm concerned about. They are now destroying themselves. They're killing themselves every day almost.
All right.
They-
Well,
they go-
I-
they go- what?
we have a caller right now, man. You look like you don't want to tell us what they want. And I ask you the one, and you tell me, and then you're going after something.
You don't want me to say I'm okay. They go on their vengeance, and we, the adults, that's not helping them.
Oh,
That's a warning.
all right. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, Safety Plastic is a public figure, so they're different than a private person. So the information like who they're married to and stuff is public knowledge. It took me like I googled her name, and right after her name and her age, right next to it was her spouse. So that's not all public, especially particularly elected officials. That stuff is considered common knowledge. There's nothing personal or secretive that, when you're a public figure, that kind of stuff is out there.
Okay, so-
any news agency, any website, anybody can put that stuff out.
So, caller, no, I was going to say from my perspective, and I agree with you, the information is out there. Our delegate is a public figure, but her husband is not a public figure. He's a private individual, and I won't call his name. I won't. That's me. I would not call his name. That's all I'm saying.
Right. But what I'm saying is that kind of stuff. That kind of information is out there. So that when you decide to run for a political office, you need to talk to your spouse and let them know that it's not just you running; it's your whole family running.
Correct.
And so any newspaper, you can't sue them to say it's private or whatever. Anybody can publish that kind of information once you are elected official. It's not just you running; it's your whole family running. And I'm sure she had a discussion with him about this because what if she didn't? She should have. Because this is a known thing,
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
And that's why, Miss Moody, the delegate, our
To
delegate
Congress.
to Congress, Stacey Plaskett, she put out some information in reference to her mom, and I won't get into that because that's private to me. That's a family issue that could go really bad. It may have gone bad. Some nephews, nieces, aunties, uncles, people who may not know these things, hearing this for the world to hear, may not feel comfortable with that. And that has nothing to do with her judgment. And for me, I know others have gone into that. I won't do that. That's a family matter, and I just wish them the best. And sorry that happened to her mom. But as she said, her mom took that to the grave, and I'm not going to dwell on that aspect. In reference to the money that Mr. Epstein made, again going back to the initial caller, He made between 2008 to 2012 over $67 million. You know, and who was the labor commissioner at that time? I think it was Governor Albert Brandt, who wasn't governor at the time, but was he in compliance with the work requirements, the employment requirements? That's what I'm trying to get folks to understand. The delegate said in her statement, she wants all of the files to be released. Well, all of the files involve the EDA minutes between 2008 to 2012. That's all of the files. Our delegate tell the board, which she said it was the governor and the board. It wasn't her, but as her job to be able to tell the board and whoever the governor was, this gentleman was a level 3 sex offender in New York. He maybe not have done anything here that we know, but still he's a high risk. Here are the risks for the program. Here are the risks to give him benefits. He may be using these benefits to harm children. He may not. But let's hold his certificate for right now until we get greater clarity. Was that done? This is all part of the job. Has nothing to do with her. It's the job. I know I'm right, you know. So
I hear you. I hear you. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes. A question for Dr. Brown, if I may. Would you explain what's the difference in level 3 sex offender, level 1, 2, and maybe a higher figure there? Thank you.
okay. So the caller asks, I have the paper here. A level 3 sex offender is a high risk offender, someone who is more than likely going to do it again. Someone that has to every 90 days go take a picture. Has to if you move, you have to tell, if you have a probation, whoever, you have to tell the legal system, the police or Department of Justice, I'm leaving. If you're going away, you have to, show that I'm a sex offender. It's complicated. Level 1 is the lowest risk. You only check in once a year. You might say, okay, I move in, but it's the lowest level, and it says you're not going to reoffend.
Yeah.
But he reoffended beyond anything.
I hear you. Good afternoon and welcome. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Yeah, okay, no, I'm still here. Let me just say, okay, I know what it says with that. Now, when Mr. Epstein was given tax exemption, as I understand it, and if I'm wrong, just tell me I'm wrong. Albert Brown was the chairman of the Economic Development Commission. Patsy Plaskett was the council.
Okay. I'm not. Hold on, Carl. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was or wasn't.
Sure, but I'm telling you that information.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's what I needed. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not asking you to clarify.
Okay.
That.
Okay.
Right. Yet and still they saw it fit to give this man up to 300 million, up to 350 million tax exemption. Now, I heard you just said that over some period of time, Mr. Epstein made $67 million. Is that what you said?
From about 2008 to 2009, if it adds out around that.
But
So
he made
2012,
that
sorry,
doing
2008 to 2012, sorry, 2008 to 2012.
Okay, but he made that doing what? Just for the mind consumption. Well, what was he doing? What work was he doing?
The caller, that's why everybody here now trying to find out what did he do to get all these benefits.
Well, you see, the thing is, seemingly, this guy, as most of these big-ass people involving with people's children, that's a full-time work for them. Where will he find, unless the children were paying him? Where else would he make $67 million? You see. But you know, the thing is this, and it's funny because just yesterday, I brought up this same subject matter with Mario. And the reason I brought it up because it's becoming very sickening to me, as I'm sure to other people. I live in the state of Florida. I also live in the state of Texas. But in Florida, every Jesus Christ day, so this morning, a teacher was arrested for troubling children. What is it? Something in the food they eat. situation with a big Mantuana woman that they have with a child. I mean, I don't know if it's bothering me too much. Listen, let me tell you something. I was told by this Miss Educator Yuga over there saying, Roy, she don't know why they get so much nice, but they got married man like that does the trouble children too. So that's the reason. I mean, are you aware what's going on here? People just trying to cover these things up. Women married with children and grandchildren trying to shoot this thing away as if it's nothing. But you know why they're doing that? They're very close to home. Their little body come home with his bottom their home with blood running out of him. They happen to them.
Mr. Nims, let me clarify something because I don't want to have any association, relation, whatever you want to call it, with this miseducator you keep mentioning. I want it to be quite, I want to be clearly known to the listening audience because I have documentation to prove. I believe you are one of the ones on the email list that I send out, that I have been sending out ever since the Bruce Smith case came up, indicating and for everyone listening, my focus always is that we have yet to deal with the enablers. And as I recently pointed out in one of my most recent emails, as I see what an enabler is, and I had to even go to the point of pointing out that as Caribbean people, we know it can done. So don't tell me that something happening in a school and the only person who know is the offender. Somebody else know, suspect even something. And the point is, the law speaks to that and say if you think something is happening, you are mandated to make a report
By law.
by law. And that is my focus with the Bruce Smith situation. The enablers were never accounted for, were never brought to justice. And it is my focus now with the
The gentleman,
I forget the name.
assistant principal,
Blide,
something.
something. The assistant principal that was recently, Boyd. Because I do not want, and I am always on the children's side. How do we expect students to be trusting of adults when they themselves, I'm sure, probably observe that they are adults who see things, know things, but yet do nothing?
Again, and you're so correct, but you're selling yourself short. When I said, so let me say this to you, because I've said it before. If it was not for you, Bruce Smith would have been about still molested people children, okay? It's only because of the noise you made, good noise, okay? And hopefully they will have to let the good for nothing approach them for hiding. So come out there, neighbors. And the same is with Mr. Boyd case.
Well, I am hoping that the enablers are somehow held accountable because my point is, this situation they may be more presently happening or going to happen because we are saying to these children, well, they got you as a victim. They're threatening you because this is the things that we're told that happens to them, why they don't speak. And we're saying, well, you're going to just have to bear it because, anybody you tell, we ain't believe in you. And then you're the one who's going to become the problem. This is the way we're acting. This is the way we operating. Are we talking about we for the children? How are we going to be for the children when two people were at home enjoying their retirement and everybody said they knew what was happening?
Oh, you see, but this is the point that this is the thing that drives me and God my spirit. People, educated people.
I ain't going there with you. You ain't going to get my program in, no problem. I'm promoting no violence, no please.
I said I'm going to encourage the youth man to bring street justice against the bastards who are troubling them. Are you on?
Goodbye.
So, Miss Moore, so, and we always have to say this because it's, I think Mr. Boyce was arrested. He hasn't been prosecuted as yet.
Yeah.
And so he's innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
I commend, I think, the young man who came forward after many years, apparently, of severe trauma,
Yeah.
and said that this was done to him and he wants justice, and I commend him. And as you mentioned, folks like myself, we're mandatory reporters. We have to report. I've reported many times. I don't play with that. And I've gotten cussed out, people swearing, cussing. I look at them and say, listen, I'm not the VIPD. I'm not the Department of Human Services, Department of Health, whatever. They will contact you. They will do their investigation, and then you proceed from there.
Yeah.
My job is to report. If the child comes to me, I don't pick and choose. You don't pick and choose. You don't get nervous and say, well, I don't know. No, you don't do that. You report.
Exactly.
And you let the professionals who are responsible for that to do that.
Which is not anybody in the Department of Education. Yeah, this Mary Moorhead saying, ain't got nothing to do with the station. I don't know that education has anybody in human resources or whatever who's qualified, credentialed to hold any investigation concerning a complaint of sexual assault. They're not.
No, but that's
So it's blamey when the talking stubbornness about they're doing fetching investigation.
No, that's a crime. Wait. That's a crime. I don't know the policy. I don't know. You know more, but that's a crime.
I
That's
say this
not
because this
enforcement.
is how we supposed. That's what happened
That's
with the Smith situation. Supposedly, education was doing an investigation.
Okay.
And the governor mentioned at one time that the investigation was over, but nobody knows what the result of the investigation is, and nothing happened. And everybody, I mean, it's a public rumor that the gentleman who was the principal at the time is one of the enablers, and he was moved to another facility, and then he went to retirement.
Well, if the governor mentioned the report, I don't know if he here today. I'll get technical. People will get upset with me a little bit, but whether he mentioned if it was an internal investigation or open investigation for the public. Sometimes Governor Bryan gets criticized for speaking and then not being as clear as he should. I saw that, and I was wondering, is this an internal investigation that the department is doing, or this is going to be open to the public? And a lot of people feel, based on the statement, it should be open to the public, but clearly it appears that was internal to the Department of Education and Government House and these folks. And so that then don't build the trust.
So this second one with this gentleman, and in the article it says that again, the Department of Education had an investigation that had no result until then you have this accusation from the student. So it is showing you that whatever they're doing, it is not valid.
Wow. Well, again, Ms. Moorhead, this is the stuff that has to be discussed to the board, to the department, because of and I don't speak for either one, but sexual assault is a crime.
The board claims no responsibility whatsoever. Okay?
What? This don't make sense. What do you mean?
The board claims no responsibility or jurisdiction whatsoever.
The board don't set policies? That's why you got to say that to me. What happened? I'm not. The board doesn't help to set policies for the territory.
Board, I know the board sets policies.
So then, how the board can?
And the reason I can tell you, the board holds the reason, and people are listening to me, that I can make the statement I just made is because I am the one who brings the issue and asks the board what we going to do.
So folks, listen. Ms. Moore, we've had two serious allegations of child abuse in our department, in my department, because I'm an employee. I'm off the record, right? I'm off right now. This is my time, but I work for the two high-profile incidents,
and I am.
And we don't have a problem.
And I am trying to God to try that they don't have no more. But as I see it, there will be more and many more because education is not taking these things serious.
You
And
believe that?
folks, it is my position
Okay.
that if we're not dealing with enablers, we're not serious. Because yes, you have the accuser, the perpetrator, whoever, but things can be stopped. Things can be prevented
That's what I'm
if
saying.
the people who see, who think, who suspect do what they're supposed to do
By law.
by law.
By
We
law.
have a call. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, good afternoon. The big part of the problem is that our community, including education and others, don't take education and experience seriously. They don't value it. So, to the public, when the Department of Education says they're going to do an investigation, they see it as the same as the police doing an investigation, where the police are trained in how to, so you become a police officer, but then to be a detective, you're trained and have to pass tests and stuff to be caught, to be able to investigate. And even then, they don't just send you out on your own. Your first cases and stuff, there are people there leading you through it, teaching you, people with experience who have done investigations, have made mistakes and know not to do this, but to do this. And so there are people with experience that guide them. So when the police does an investigation, that is entirely different and on a different level than when the department does their investigation. You're dealing with people who are not trained and have little to no experience ever doing an investigation, and never been under somebody's tutelage as to how to do an investigation. So they're not the same level, they're not the same thing. But our community takes it as if they're the same thing, because this is what we've been preaching to them, that education and experience, education is really experience. It's a shortcut to gain some experience without actually doing the thing. You're, going to classes, reading about what people have done in this area before, and getting some knowledge from their experience. So education to me and experience is about, they're not exactly the same thing, but it's a shortcut to kind of jumpstart your experience when you become educated in a particular area. And we have been allowing this, and in fact, even education does this, that they have no respect for somebody's education and experience.
Caller, let me point something out, okay? Because this is my position. Those people, whoever they are, and I have never, I don't recall anyway, seeing anything that specifies exactly who or what unit or what agency, what division. I think one time they mentioned human resources in the Department of Education that is supposedly the ones who run this so-called investigation. My position is, my point is, they should be prosecuted as enablers, especially in the second situation where the article, if the article that I read, I think, and I can't remember what it was, the source of the consortium, whichever article it was, in the article it said specifically that there was an investigation because there was a complaint first on this vice principal. There was a complaint from an educator, and there was an investigation in the Department of Education, but they found no problem. And then there was the second accusation, which came from the student who started and was abused in the elementary and is now reporting when they're on the secondary level. My thing is, whoever those people are or that person is that did that investigation after there was a report by the educator and they said they found nothing, charge them as enablers of a sexual assault of a pedophile because they are enabling the assault.
I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go as far without knowing.
You ain't going, but I going.
But I'm thinking. Here I am in the Department of Education or Human Resources, having no training, no experience with doing an investigation, and then my superior comes and says, "Oh, do this investigation."
You got a choice. No, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't take that there, please. Don't take that there. People have choice. I do not agree with that. You giving some kind of opening for this and that because somebody give you an order. You know where you just gone? The same place where we there with Trump and Hezbollah or whatever. Yes, because the law says it's mandatory report. The law says it's mandatory reporting. I know I'm talking over you, but I have to make clear that.
I'm talking about the investigation after the report.
And I am saying they are not to investigate. They were to just report to the Justice Department.
I'm talking about, I think, or I'm misunderstanding you. One of the two. I'm talking about after it was already reported to the police, then education said that they were going to do their internal investigation. That's what I'm talking about. After it was already reported.
I guess you're talking about the Smith situation, okay? Because that's how that timetable went. I am talking about the present one now with the assistant principal, where it was reported that an educator made a report. And the department supposedly made an investigation and came up with no wrongdoings. And then it is because the student now made this report.
Let's be clear. Let's me make sure So you were talking about the report about the possible molestation of the student, not the employee. Because there were two reports. So you're talking about the one about the student.
I am speaking to the fact now. It was not made clear in the article as to if the educator that made the report was making a report concerning something having to do with the educator, or if it was a report concerning a student. They just simply said that an educator made a report. Okay, and then there was an investigation that proved no wrongdoing. And then a month or something later, whatever, if I can, I can't recall right now, but I know there was some space in between, that then this student, who is now in the high school, then made the report about the same gentleman, which happened when they were in elementary school. My point is, when that first report was made by the educator, regardless of who it involved, whether it involved the educator or it involved a report that the educator was making concerning a student, the law demands that a report is made to the proper authorities, which is not the Department of Education. It's the police. Local or federal, but the police.
I didn't realize that law pertained to adults. I thought that was only when it dealt with minors or dealt with a student. I didn't. So wasn't my understanding that if two adults have some situation and they make a report to the school that the administrators are still under the same umbrella that they have to
as I understand the law, sir, because I was aware of it as an employee of the Department of Education. As I understand, I recall, the law has to deal with sexual assault or harassment, period. It does not make a difference between whether it's adult to adult or adult to child. It just said sexual assault or harassment, period. it
Yeah,
is
yeah, that's
mandatory
all.
that it is
Yeah, that's
reported
all.
to the proper authorities.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, if you got a report and you do an investigation before you even, because okay, if you want to investigate, but first do the report that you're mandated to do to the people who are qualified
Yeah.
and whose job it is to investigate a report of sexual assault.
And has trained, and more for the most important, they have the training and the experience to know how to do it.
Well, now maybe you're understanding why I'm saying that these people, as far as my opinion, are enablers of the sexual position.
I can see from your standpoint, I can see why you would.
And my position is, how do we know what else has happened? You see, we know of that because there is the child that made the official report.
We went to a nurse.
We don't know how many different of complaints have been made in education that went nowhere.
Yeah, I saw something. I think it was on the comments of the article that this woman was saying that she and her sister had interactions with the same person.
Okay.
And it happened to her first, and then when she was when the news first broke, she talked to her sister, and then she found out that similar thing happened to her. So it kind of points that, which is the usual case, that there are more than one potential victims out there.
But the problem is, Carla, and we have to understand this. You know, we may not hear about the lawsuits, but you know, we as educators, administrators, the department, we have a responsibility to protect the children. And if there are individuals who are doing these acts, which they clearly are, that, you know, we may not know the outcome of any kind of legal proceedings, but I guarantee you the lawsuits are going to be flying. And so the department does have a policy in that it's mandatory reporting for all of us. In the department, we're supposed to report to the Department of Human Services, where they have trained professionals who then go and then proceed with law enforcement as well.
Well, actually, the police department.
Right, and that's what I said.
But they will probably bring in.
Exactly. That's correct. That's correct. But I want to say
the top investigators in our community.
Right, but I want
with the most experience.
Right, but I want to make it clear: sexual assault is a crime. It is a crime. It is not for anyone to try to figure out, well, Mr. Who and who is nice and why would, that's not your job. It is a crime. And that is important to stress.
On one aspect, there are a lot of people I know only on a professional level. I only interacted there with them, at their work. I don't know how they are when they go home. And so you don't, so even though you might say, okay, well, I have never had any reason to think that this person would do this thing. But the question is how well you really know that person. And so, you need to leave it to investigators who are going to investigate their lives, both at work and away from work.
And folks,
look at the whole picture.
Folks don't have
come to a conclusion.
Folks don't have to worry about that particular individual and whether people can accuse you for anything. Miss Morehead, somebody could say, you do something, and then it comes out you didn't do it. So if you're worried about the reputation of your friend and all of that, that's not a reason not to report.
It can get carried away. I know it's like a principal, high school principal at the state. He was accused, similar thing. Years later, the person accused him. He was like, well, I know I didn't do it. And he actually ended up suing the family of the person. And that's what finally got the person to admit that they made it up.
Right.
And then he just settled for one penny in damages. Because it wasn't about, getting money from them. It was about he was trying to clear his name.
Right.
He was trying to clear his name for the longest. And of course, people kept having their doubts and stuff. So he was like, well, okay, this is the only way. I know I didn't do this. This is the only way to be able to bring it out. And so,
But the problem, caller, and for the listening audience, that we're having locally here is that we are putting children in danger. And as I said, we don't know how many children have made reports in education, and this division, whether it be personnel, human resources, I can't remember which division it was in education that supposedly did an investigation and found no wrongdoing. They are the danger because they're not reporting it where it's supposed to be reported, and they're making their own decision. And this is the second time now, because let's
they're not
remember
supposed to.
with the Smith situation, they made an investigation. Supposedly, there was no wrongdoing, and this is why I'm saying supposedly, because I heard the governor said the investigation was closed. We never heard anybody accused of wrongdoing. So therefore, it is left for us to determine that there were no enablers in the Smith situation either.
I think many of those people they filed for retirement and stuff like that.
Even if they retired, they could still the investigation.
Yes.
If the investigation found that they were responsible, they were supposed to be a public statement to that
to that
determination. Okay.
And you're also right. If the person in the, human resources or even human services, they don't make a report to the police, they are now in violation.
And this is the second time. This is the second case that they're not reporting where they're supposed to report when they're supposed to report. So my point is, they are now, as I see it, guilty of aiding and abetting people to sexually assault children.
Because they don't have the experience to do this. Our top investigators in our community, in our government, is the police.
Exactly.
And so, you can't be, doing your little thing and replacing the police department.
Exactly.
You don't have the training, you don't have the experience, you don't have the resources, you don't have the law, that they have that enables them in their investigation. So your investigation cannot be equal.
And this is why, caller, as much as you first didn't see that it was fair to say, this is why I'm saying that these people, whether it's human resources or whatever the title was, as I see, should be accused of being enablers, because if they're not held accountable, Lord knows how much things are going to continue without action.
Yeah. But again, this is our general problem in our community. We throw away, we don't value education and experience. So we see the people in human resources, and they may also see themselves as just as able to do an investigation as the police department, who has so much years of experience and training.
Hold on. Hello, you done gone to a different degree because you talking about some good for nothing bunch of egotistical sentence that people, will no way that I go be in human resources or be doing one job, and you come telling me to do something and I going to feel like capable of doing something I have no business
So
doing.
that's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, in our society, this is what the average person thinks.
All right,
Don't
buddy.
think education and experience.
Thank God I in average, and thank God Dr. Brown you in average neither.
Investigation or the police department doing the investigation, they see it as the same thing.
All right, okay, well,
They see them as equal.
I gotta hold you there and pick up this next call, but me and Dr. Brown in average. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome, and thanks for holding.
Good afternoon, Ms. Moorhead and Dr. Brown once again.
Yes.
For your listening audience, I would suggest that they go and they pull the Epstein settlement agreement with the
Yes.
Virgin Islands,
Yes.
and there are monies that are associated with doing those things that you all just had that conversation about. Monies are being spent recklessly with other things, but in accordance to that agreement, there are monies that are put aside for educational and
Thank you for sharing that with us.
And
Thank
that's,
you.
that's why, Chairman James Comer, the Republican from Kentucky, he's the chair for the House Oversight Committee. He requested documents from our AG here, Mr. Gordon Ray, I think his name is, if I pronounce it wrong, forgive me, to include Epstein possibly playing off, according, this is what's out there, this is what he said, local law enforcement. The committee said its investigation remains active and additional steps will follow as it seeks a complete accounting of federal action where under Congress surrounding Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, who's
But I
already said
think
she's
some
not going to
people going to
testify.
be, I think some people going to be in problems locally because I believe there was statements made to the fact that some of these Epstein monies were not being used as they were directed to be.
You mean when with the J.P. Morgan Chase case?
The no, the settlements that came that the caller is just talking
There
about.
are a lot of settlements with this man.
That because I
He
think
was demonic.
I think it had to do with a conversation with something about a mental health facility or something because there was
Yes.
money stick for that directed
Well,
to
if
that
people
too, or
took-
whatever.
Listen,
And seemingly the Brian Roach administration has been using the monies for all kind of things other than what they
the
specified.
Congress has said, folks, it's public. Go online. I'm not making it. They are focused on two places. Florida, with Mr. Acosta, who was a federal prosecutor who became the labor secretary, who gave him, according to them, a slap on the wrist, who should have brought it to the federal government that he was committing human trafficking offenses and stuff.
Yeah.
And the second place is the Virgin Islands of the United States, because they want to know how he got here, became a level 1 sex offender, had all these tax benefits, and how he was able to use apparently some of that money here to continue to abuse children when people at the airport saw him bringing in young people every 2-3 days. Where were the policies to address that? That's human trafficking.
And that Congress investigation is going to get more serious because of the fact that Congress is headed blue.
Right, yeah. Well, you pick up
Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, Mary and Dr. Brown, I was encouraged to call back because someone called me and asked me if I'm mad with you and Dr. Brown. And I told them, no, I don't believe either of you feel that I'm mad with you all.
No. Carla, we've been doing this for so many years. Callers call in and say what they have to say and then they move on. I mean, you're not directed at us.
I know.
We ain't thin-skinned.
They like to use the word average person. Some people feel because I'm screaming and hollering, I am mad at you guys, and I'm not. I'm mad at the situation. Now, Dr. Brown, I trust your research capabilities very well.
Thank you.
I think you have the answer you were given, not necessarily for me, even though I'm part of the public,
Yes.
but you're doing for the public at large. What businesses did Mr. Epstein show on his application for tax exemption to warrant him getting such a hefty tax exemption?
Carla, I trying to figure out. I know he had some Southern Trust Company or something along that lines, Miss
Yeah, I know
Warhead.
about Southern
The two companies that I keep hearing them making reference to that were involved that Epstein had. What exactly they were and what exactly were their operations, I have no idea. But we will find out when they start to ask
But then
the former first lady.
But then this is where again I get right back to our delegate. She's going to sit there to represent us. How can you represent us and you're right in the middle of it?
Oh.
You're right there. They're going to be focused on you. That's what Trump was trying to say to folks, and they didn't understand. Epstein had international connections with Republicans, Democrats, and everybody. Look at Larry Summers, the former Secretary of the Treasury.
Yeah.
He said he's done with private public statements. He's now moving into private life forever. He has no more statements to make. He's no longer on the board for OpenAI. He no longer is at Harvard. Andrew is now a commoner. He's not Prince. Andrew He's just Andrew. All of these folks, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, all of these people have exit stage left. Our delegate want to say a bad idea. Miss Moorhead, I don't like when people dumb down my intelligence. A bad idea is if I say to myself, you know what? I should get drunk tonight. I should just go to a bar and drink. That's a bad idea. Now, if I take that idea, which is a concept, and I follow through with a process, and I go get drunk and get in my car and drive drunk driving, that's a process. That's poor judgment.
Of course.
That's poor judgment. And everybody wants to just act because I know people want to run for governor. I don't care about those things. I care that this man came here and he abused all of these children. And we got people here acting like this is okay.
And we are, well, let me not say
it's not okay.
Let me not say we. And St. Thomas is branded for it. Praise God. This is one time that I saw like that it says St. Thomas and it goes everyone.
The only thing that St. Thomas is part of the U.S. Virgin
Hello. They don't make it clear to St. Thomas because they don't got to identify that they were not in little island there. Praise the Lord.
Little St. James and Greater St. James.
All right. Okay. Now, I have another question.
Yes.
Kids and Keys and Island, those little islands surrounding the main Virgin Island body, some of the voices are they owned by the Virgin Island government?
The sovereignty is okay. So that's a good question. I won't get into that because then you start talking about the sovereignty of the Virgin Islands, of the United States, forgive me, and what the United States has allowed the Virgin Islands to have in reference to the rocks and the keys based on the treaty series 629, the secession of the Danish West Indies in reference to
because I don't think anybody has the answer as to how the island became private to begin with.
Yeah, some of those islands are private.
I comment to that, then I'm leaving. I comment to that. I raised this question with an attorney friend of mine in Washington, D.C., and he said that matter hasn't surfaced yet.
What matter is that? What matter you talking about? You said that matter.
Ownership, the matter of ownership of Little and Big Dam.
Okay.
Well,
That's what I'm talking to. The thing is this. Epstein has to show and address where his business is. One, he has to show that he owns land, he owns it. Did he put down that he owns these islands? If he did, did he give them proof of ownership? That's my concern. The other thing is this. If and the teaching for finalization, if that's the word of legal scholars, is that all those little things would be small as a rockstone or big as a whole island, they belong to the government at the Virgin Islands. So who did Epstein buy them rock?
okay.
That's the question. And I'm telling you, not me, I ain't no legal scholar. The people are telling me that's a thing that's bothering legal scholars. You got to dig in and try to find out, going back to geodetic surveys and whatnot. If they belong to the government of the Virgin Islands, Epstein bought them, then where did the money go?
Well, they're going on farther because supposedly the island has been resold, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But Carla,
Put a lot of money to that place, okay?
but Carla, what you're asking is probably going to be brought up in Congress, and that's what folks don't need to understand. Remember, we used to have rooster fighting here in the Virgin Islands. You remember that, Miss Moorhead? And one day you just hear it in the media. Congress decided no more rooster fighting in the territories. People up in arms, and what did Congress say? We don't care if you're up in arms. Go ahead and do it. We'll arrest you and charge you with federal crime. So Congress can change the EDC. I know we have, Senator Crapo, and we recognizing him for the work he did with the RUM cover over, but he don't want nothing to do with this either. I tell you, I ain't asking nobody. He ain't touching this and I know he's not touching it because you saw what happened when it came time for the vote, and the president had to back down. This is not Republican, Democrat. People are looking at the judgment The judgment of all of these folks, governors, first ladies, delegates, that's what they're looking at. They're looking at your
Alright.
judgment.
Right. But let me finish with this right now quickly. And this is why I asked those questions. And then of course the argument or the discussion goes back to then the reason that the governor has to get rid of this brave young woman, attorney general, for what she uncovered or let loose. Okay? Because they know that it was going to end up as to where and how and why the Mr. Epstein of Davies Island, if the order for the person who got the money and where is it? Final thing is, the last part of the question is going to be if it was not his to buy and now to sell, because with the settlement, some other man went and buy the property there. So this thing ain't over yet. And as I just mentioned, CNN did a big pop-up. More photos and files were released by the Congress up to this morning.
You know what? And more going come because they have the deadline is the 15th.
Yes.
Okay.
All the files supposed to be released by the 15th of December.
And
Don't
our
go run. And I don't know, some men are proud, some are saying, if I was Stacey's husband, that's why I have to see him going, no, I would have tell her to go and sit down with her foolishness for wanting to run for her office.
That's
And
it.
if she did not do it, I was going to come to the airwaves and say what I told her that to do it to protect myself and their children. And let her hang by herself. I gone.
okay. So let me
Thank you.
let me say this. I've seen the image. It looked like a photo. You know, it looked like some
I
AI
haven't
generated.
seen it.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
The issue I think that but the delegate again is in some problems in regard. She's having to make all these statements over again. That's never good for a politician.
Mhm.
But you know, she may need to say something. This image isn't. Everybody's talking about it, and she knows whether or not she took the image. She knows that. And so if she didn't, to have this out there, keep again with all that's going on, she needs to end that. If it is that she took the picture with him and that's her and him, she needs to say that too. Because everything is just coming out. This is what bothers me, folks. It's not about her. It's about this whole saga. It's drips, and the local media is asking questions, drip, and CNN find out, and then Washington Post, and everybody's finding out everything except for us. The people she
Well,
represents. I have problems
You
with
know,
this.
to be perfectly honest, Mr. Brown, I am really not concerned about any more information concerning that situation because I was done with it after she claimed when it first started that just like everyone else, she was given a check. And that was it. I was done with it when the deposition
Mm.
became public and pointed out that she visited the gentleman
She did.
5 or 6 times.
She did.
As far as I concerned,
She did visit
that
him.
exposed her lying attitude concerning the whole Epstein situation, and I was done with it.
Mm.
It is nothing that Delegate Stacy Plaskett can say to me to change my position that you have no problem with associating or affiliating with sexual deviance.
My
And
wife
as far
said-
as I'm concerned, case closed. You have my
My wife calls him the son of the devil, and every time I hear everything, it's just awful. He really, that man was demonic. He wasn't playing around. He's one of the worst serial pedophiles in human history, one of the worst serial rapists in human history.
And
They
that-
may have others who may have had more to believe that, but they did that in their own country. He traveled the world,
and this is
and
why,
abuse
as far as
people.
I'm
Whoa.
concerned, we as
the
people
world.
should not consider that Stacey Plaskett is any credible possible leader for the Virgin Islands and the United States. She have been stained by her position with this Epstein man
And they're
that she
going after her.
continue to protect.
And my first thing, let me say this. For me, with her judgment, again, her judgment, not her other person, her judgment started for me with the whole revised organic acting. I had serious problems with that because to me, you know what I'm saying, that's such a issue amongst us as a people. And you literally gonna go up to Congress, put forward this bill, ask two or three people to give their opinion, like they speak for the rest of us, and not have a discussion amongst us to see whether or not we as a people. So once again, you just speaking for all of us, and that's the start. The second, of course, is now this whole thing with Greenland that everybody's talking about, trying to figure out what's going on here, what happened with the treaty. She knows there is a problem. She's on the intelligence committee. She's on the intelligence. It's not about liking Trump or what you're supposed to tell the chairman of the intelligence committee. I have constituents in the Virgin Islands that have some concerns and they need to talk to the committee, open door, closed door, and we need to do an investigation.
Mr.
All of
Brown,
these things.
you need to remember what the great Maya Angelou said.
What did she say, Miss Moorhead?
When somebody tell you who they be, believe them.
What
What does Stacey tell us all the time? I am a native New Yorker.
Yes. That's another issue.
Okay.
And that was done in a professional. I had issues with that.
I mean, you can say I was born in New York, but the manner in which the statement was made is what made the difference for me.
And in the
it's
platform,
like, don't look for me to be associated with anything else. New York is it.
And that's what caused her to text Jeffrey Epstein. Because it was about Trump instead about the Virgin Islands.
So Stacey has in so many different ways told us who she is. We need to believe it and leave Stacey out yonder where she is.
Because we're not going to stop it. The Republicans don't have to stop. They're coming after Florida for them and the Virgin Islands. And the leaders in the Virgin Islands who apparently got mesmerized by this man's money again and made some real poor decisions in how they dealt. Most of them have moved on, though. I say that.
But we can come back by coming next year, and whatever Stacey runs for, get the best ass whipping we can.
I think they say she's running for government. I don't think she's running for delegate.
Whichever position it is, what we need to do to show the Trumpians or whatever that might be looking at us to consider to make us pay, give she the best ass whipping we can, whatever the position is. So it is clear we are not at all pleased nor supportive of what she has done or is doing.
And it gets to the second discussion, Ms. Moorhead, because the second discussion is the same as you just mentioned with everything that's going on with Venezuela. And, you know, I want folks to understand something, because we focus in the Caribbean as being a region of peace. We were at peace from 1945 to present because the U.S. was really the only legitimate superpower, an empire. We don't use empire anymore, we use superpower, but it's an empire. And the USSR, the Soviet Union, got bankrupt, couldn't compete when we had the Cold War. And the US knew that. But China and Russia and all of the other regional players, North Korea, Iran, and all of these other folks, which the US calls the axis of evil, and other people in the world call the axis of resistance, they're now coming together in a head, especially Russia and China combined. There's no nation individually, Ms. Moorhead, that can compete with the US military, none. But when you see the Russians and the Chinese combined, the US military is like 98%, number one. Russia and China combined is like 92. They have the hypersonic missiles, they have the manpower, they're sharing the technology. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, look at what's going on in Ukraine and what Putin is telling President Trump now. I don't have to do what you ask me. You're not in any position to tell me what to do. I want this territory and I'm going to acquire this territory, whether through outright military success or the Ukrainians give it to us. Anything less than that, we're not really talking. That's an empire move. And the United States now looks at that and says, in this hemisphere, which some now call it the new colonialism, no nation is going to have that type of relationship with adversarial nations against the US. And so Venezuela and Cuba have that relationship with Iran, with China, with Russia, as we all see. And the US, whether it's for the oil, whether it's for national security, which is stated, is saying to the entire region and the entire hemisphere, we're going to do this. We are a superpower. We feel threatened. If you don't like it, tough luck. And you saw what happened with Prime Minister Ralph Gonzalez, who many said he was in support of Maduro. I don't know that to be a fact. I've read a lot of his statements. He talked about sovereignty for CARICOM and all the other nations in the hemisphere, but he got kicked out.
Mr.
So,
Brown, in that situation, what you're talking about, what I would like to see happen, we, yes, don't have a penny in the dime in the dollar, whatever, nationally. But we do have, in a sense, because every one of us have a relative, a friend, an associate, something living in the mainland, on the mainland, that we have a connection to, a connection that has some value. What we need to begin to understand is we need to use that connection to request, to demand, whatever the relationship is that gives you the power to look it. You register, you're voting, vote Democrat.
yeah, but
Because that is the only way
mhm.
to make some control, to get some control of the problems that are occurring on the mainland
Mhm.
with this Trump King presidency.
Right. But I'll say this, Ms. Ward, I cannot disagree with that in this sense. The Democrats aren't much different from the Republicans. The Republican Party isn't that much different from the Democratic Party. And the Democrats are not going to sit back and could stand a national security incident happen and a Democrat is there. The country gonna explode and say,
But
well, you guys
Mr.
allow this to happen, you
But
know?
hello, the Democrats are not going to continue with what is going on.
Why do you
with the
think so?
Because, hello, they just got out of the war, the whole situation. They don't have necessarily an appetite to continue, especially it going right now the way it's going. If anything, they would try their best to reverse the situation, to calm it down or
Right.
whatever, which is what we need, and which is not going to happen if we allow Congress to continue with a Republican majority.
Okay. So all I
So
have,
the choice that we have, I'm not saying it's perfect,
yes.
but it is the one choice that we have to help to mitigate the situation, which is to ask whoever we know, if you have some participation in an election that would get rid of and change this dominance that's going on, use it.
What all the Republicans gonna do, Ms. Moorhead, and that's why I said it should look like the Democrats will win in the midterm. But we just had an incident in Washington D.C. where this Afghan gentleman went and killed a white National Guard woman, and that's what that works. He's Afghan man who is an immigrant killed a white American woman, and you see now how that has switched the whole conversation.
That is
So-
because that is the Trump and the Republicans
Yes.
who are who are
Yes.
twisting it.
Right.
But if we're listening, we understand that the man was disenchanted because really he was let
And-
down in all ways of his life. I
Right.
find that disappointing.
And who
So we
and who is getting hurt? The people in Somalia, the people in other parts of the world who now they're saying, well, President Trump and the administration,
But
we're
still,
not letting
that
in,
is
and
going
the Democrats aren't saying
and-
nothing.
but
Like silent, they silent.
because what are you going to say?
What can you say?
And if you say anything, what difference does it make? When, and this is why I'm saying it's the power they need. It is the mandatory, the majority that they need in order for anything to change. And if we don't change it, all we're getting is to get worse.
I don't think you're gonna change, Miss Moore. That's my point. I see
It
your
can
point.
change.
Anything can change.
Yes, but it
But-
is possible. They didn't even think that they were going to be to the point they are now. But they're saying the Republicans, one behind the other, starting with Marjorie. What's her name?
Yeah,
That-
she's
that's-
not.
That's
She
making
done.
it.
She
Well, it's
decided to
making
done.
a difference.
It is.
And the point
It
is,
is.
we can continue to have the difference if we just make sure when you come to those elections, get rid of the Republicans
But we have a
who
whole
are simply sitting there
in Congress.
letting Trump do what he wants.
Okay, Miss
Good
Moore.
afternoon.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's only me again, but I just heard Dr. Brown lean into a part of this whole scenario as I discussed with Mario yesterday. Dr. Brown,
Mm-hmm.
where in the name of Jesus Christ did Donald Trump got the power to be not only the commander-in-chief of the United States,
Yes.
but commander-in-chief of the world, to which he wants to tell the likes of Putin what to do and put not to put them in his place.
Okay.
But where he gets power from?
Well, a lot of folks don't realize, before I don't mean to keep up time, but I just want folks to understand when President Washington, when they had the opportunity for him to be a king, he said, no, I don't want to be a king. I want to serve at the will of the people. But the Constitution gives the president a tremendous amount of power. Now, as to what you're saying, Ms. Moorhead, the Congress is supposed to be the checks and balances and the judicial branch of government on executive power.
And if we take away the majority from the
House,
from the
and the-
GOP,
Yes.
who is simply sitting there allowing the president
Yes.
to do what he wants, we can at least have hope.
Right. The issue that President Trump realized is the laws are structured in a way to test the limits of executive power. So that's what he's doing. That's why you see he's winning in court a lot of these cases, because he's stretching it in ways other presidents have never done. And that is where you're seeing the power. And under national security, with the statements that have been made by the Russian, the Chinese, and others, he is saying that my job as the president to the federal agencies is to protect the nation against all threats towards the nation. Nobody's ever really done that, so this is unprecedented territory.
And you're correct with that. That's a very good answer. But the thing is this.
But then are you not agreeing to that there's a possibility of change is to make sure that the election brings a majority to the Democrats for the Congress?
It has to happen.
I mean, it's not to say that things will turn completely wrong, but the point is the downhill that we're going now behind the king will stop. And that's my point. That at least let's try to stop it.
But keep in mind, though, Ms. Moorhead, but keep in mind, Carla, but keep in mind, this attack on Venezuela may happen tonight, but more than likely not
Understood.
happen or
Yeah.
next week. And that's going to change the whole region
Understood.
because the Venezuelans
But-
will respond.
And that is why it is even more important that we get rid of the Republican majority.
In one
Okay?
of the houses.
Whichever way it goes, whether it happens tonight or it happens later, it is important that the Congress has backed the check and balance against the president.
That's
And
what you're looking at.
Yes, that is it, because otherwise we're dead. I mean, listeners, we're dead.
You talk about physical death. The views and opinions expressed. Yes. Yes.
Dr. Brown,
Yes.
we'll get to that because this military occupation, and let's call it what it is. Some people saying, oh, you just bring the Biden or then the little Biden to get some sun and sea and some black girl and rum. Nonsense. It's a military occupation. And as you talk about maybe to attack Venezuela, the question is, why does he want to do that? That's something to be personal with him at this time.
To get to the oil.
He's admitted that. As a
He's a
fact, he's
businessman.
admitted that.
The man is always doing
He's a
things to increase his value. It ain't no other reason that Trump do anything other than to increase his monetary value. It's the oil.
He has said that oil is a part of national security. Everything can fall under national security. That's what I'm trying to say, Carla.
You could use the national security, you could use all kinds of things as a blanket. After yesterday, I heard a white man say that in the mass media, the World Wide Web, this is a white man I'm talking about. I know that he's a Republican, but he entails all that Trump has gained since the beginning of the second term.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Currently, the man that is probably a billionaire now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it still is not enough. He will continue and continue to see whatever he can gather as a president before his term is up. Everything he's doing is to make himself richer.
Right. But then the thing is, he's doing that off of whose back? Let me just say this and close. The fact that there's a military occupation in the Caribbean, the fact that he wants to go against Venezuela, don't tell me the Virgin Islands is not now then a soft target. I mean, I always
Right.
talk about military procedure. The Virgin Islands become a soft target.
Correct.
So, okay, just like he likes to do things to test.
Correct.
Suppose Venezuela said, let me drop a missile at St. Thomas.
Hello. As long as we make sure to fight the reopening of the
Ah,
refinery,
you bet. I know you
we
got that.
lessen,
I
we
know you got
lessen,
that.
we lessen, we decrease the
I know
possibility
you got that.
of being a target of concern. We have to make sure to fight that the
Me and you.
refinery does not reopen. Opening the refinery will increase our hazard as a target.
Of course, but the thing is, to go my way of my heritage is Hispanic.
Why we
King
got
Mas
to?
Macho. You know what King Mas Macho means? You think about it, and maybe we'll see who's bad and who. So just like Trump believes he's bad, they're going to drop something on the oil refinery.
Hello. No, you need to talk to your Centomi and them and tell them to stop the shoppiness but wanting the refinery to open because they know all they want to do is use the goddamn taxes that we get from it, talking all the time about this here, tourism money that's supporting them while they're taking our rent the taxes. But I don't care about the taxes. I don't want a refinery to open, period.
Well, the thing is this, they were open and we did not ever get the full amount of money we're supposed to get from
But
them.
even what we got, I just sent Tommy and thief.
I know that was coming.
Thank you very
That's-
much.
The thing is this, it's talking about rum of a over. I just got it rum of a under. I got
So, folks, Ms. Mohead Trejo was coming. Mohead, no, I
Hello,
oppose
it is-
this.
that
I
is
for the
facts.
refinery opening. Everybody knows that.
And
But
why
yes,
why
but
you
we
might
see
be
we
for
don't
the
think-
why
Go
you
ahead, Ms.
might be
Mohead.
for the
Yes.
refinery? Other than that,
Yes.
what I said about the use of the money, am I lying?
No, but remember, Carl, I've said it before. We're getting to a point here where we're gonna have to make some decisions as a people, whether or not we're one people in a system, possibly free associated, because I don't want to be no colony, and whether our brothers and sisters in St. Thomas gonna agree with that. And if they don't agree, I don't see us staying no colony.
They don't
St.
care
Croix.
what
So
we
we gonna have
are
a problem.
as
We having
long
problems now.
as long as they can get money out of we.
We having
and
problems
then-
now.
Hello.
Because at the end of the day, the caller is right. Come Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we become a soft target. The Virgin Islands, Puerto
Understood.
Rico, Guyana,
Understood.
Trinidad and Tobago,
But we-
the DR,
But we
Dominican Republic.
diminish the possibility
You are
of
correct.
being a target
You are
as
correct.
long as we make sure that refinery does
But-
not
But
reopen.
the caller also made the point.
Uh-huh.
DOD's here, Department of Defense.
Yes.
They're here. They need
But-
those ships need to get refueled. And here
Exactly.
we are
Yeah.
one of the real few places with that history of refining that Venezuelan oil. And it's a straight shot. You could go to Louisiana, wherever, but you have to go through this, navigate this. It's straight 600 miles to St. Croix. It's just more realistic. So if that happens, there's probably an 80% chance that refinery is going to get back online in a year, 6 months to a year, and the Centomians going to vote for it. You know that. I know they're going to vote for it.
And
They're going to have a Crucian or
and
two
that
going to
is
vote for it.
why the Crucians need to make sure that we have a Crucian governor next year. You'll give me the door wide open.
I know that, but but then again, it's who is. Listen, all of these
You
people.
hearing me, folks? Your
But Miss
life
Moorhead-
depends on it.
But Miss
Then we
Moorhead,
look for a Crucian now. I ain't backing nobody because I
all
don't
of them
even
got
know.
problems.
I don't even know. No, but I don't know who the aspirants are yet.
Some of them coming on the radio now. But
So-
all of them, no,
And
no
I am
offense.
not saying just vote because it's a Crucian. We got to wait to see. And I will definitely say when all of them put the paper out, which
Miss
one, if
Moorhead,
anything, my opinion.
I'm not judging anybody. Don't think I'm saying that as a judgment. I just know some of the people and they have issues, right? We
Well,
all have issues. But I'm
the
not running.
issues that
so
I
have to
have been
respect
hearing
them.
is really all the candidates I've been hearing is Centomians.
Yeah,
And
but
yes,
they have
and
problems.
yes, I agree.
They have
I
problems.
agree. So I am well hoping and wishing that there will be Crucian coming who, even if they have not like the Centomians, and I don't think they're going to have as much problem as the Centomians because Crucians usually take a little lower
Yeah.
profile.
But you
Yeah.
know, Miss Moore, we also, and you know what's going to get in based on what the caller said too, is a lot of focus. And I think you kind of mentioned, I mentioned it before, the native born and the long-time residents and all these folks who are coming from wherever and trying to run. With what happened with our current delegate, this is ripping the place apart. And I said so 2-3 years ago, and it's coming to pass now. Because where's your loyalty? Even in just yesterday, one of the Congress members said he wanted to do away with dual
You
citizenship.
open another door for me, and this is why in the 5th Constitution we said the governor should be a native-born Virgin Islander.
But you see now, with all that's going on, that issue coming back up. The right in regards to recognize America and the Constitution, treaties, and laws as a colony. All of these things are connected.
But countries do that.
Countries do.
That their top person, the highest person of leadership, is usually a native. Why is it that there's a problem with us here saying that our governor should be a native born?
Because the sovereignty of the land and the governing document, the supreme governing document of the U.S. is the Constitution. And because we are a colony of the United States, those folks can go to court and will probably win in court and say that's not appropriate to have in a constitution that your governor has to be only a native-born person under the current system. But I would argue with anyone as of right now, come Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, when all these missiles start to fly, a lot of our former and current leaders have homes all in the States. I don't have a home in the States. I gave up my home in the States. I live here. When the missiles flying, I'm not going any place. When the attacks may happen, I'm not going any place. And I want people to lead me whose loyalty is 100% to these islands.
And if you have a
Period.
native New Yorker in government house, they
Period.
happen a plane and they go to New
They
York.
live New York. They live North Carolina. They live South Carolina. And then they want to tell us who live here we should be content with what is going on here. And when I ask folks, you want us to be a colony or you want us to do our own thing? Well, I don't want to give up on the U.S. done already, so we don't want you.
Yeah.
We don't want you people.
Uh-huh.
And I say it like that because that's what they've said in the record.
Yeah.
We want your land. We have your land.
Yeah.
We don't want you. We recognize you have the right to full constitutional citizenship, but it's never going to happen with us. What do you think the
That's why
gerrymandering?
it took them 20 years to even say you can have citizenship.
Right. Because at the end of the day, and that's a whole nother issue, at the end of the day, they're saying you're U.S. citizens. You could stay a colony and we could keep experimenting on you for the next 200, 300, 400 years. But why would I want that? Or why would I want to kick that to the children?
Yeah.
We should solve this. We're the ones here
Yeah.
dealing with it now. The
Yeah.
ships are here now. They're not there 20 years. They're here now.
Yeah.
And we should solve it. We should say as a people, okay, this is what we're going to do. If there are people, listen, Miss Moore, if people want to remain a colony, hey, who am I? But I know what our ancestors went through. I know what Van Schulten did to them. Because I know what Jeffrey Epstein did, Van Schulten did. And they got people here want to defend even Van Schulten up to today. He was such a nice man to the African. What nice man?
Because they don't know the history.
What nice man? The man stood 20 years of little
Because
girls
they
getting.
don't know
Come
the
on.
history And even what they're writing now to put in the class is not the history.
No, our history is brutal and loving, you know, but it's brutal.
But
It is not
shows-
nice.
But it is courageous.
And that's it. But if you don't teach the children courage to be courageous or see, they get frightened. Oh God, the US done already making its move. You ain't see all the islands now, the leaders like quiet because what Trump said. Well, you can say what you want, just cut off the visa.
Yeah.
Your people can't get immigration status. Simple. And it's like, boom, everybody quiet. Gonzalez and Miss Motley were the only real ones.
And
But
they're-
everybody else
they're
now.
trying their best to shut up Miss Motley.
But 9 out of when President Trump, people need to understand how this works, folks. When President Trump said he has the CIA in Venezuela, where else do you think he has the CIA? Huh? You think he's just saying I have it in Venezuela? He has it all over the region.
Yeah.
And so Miss Motley is a wonderful lady. But you think that the US government, the way it is for the next 3 years, is just going to say, let's let her keep talking the way she's talking?
Well, I am praying for the lady that
No,
she
they ain't
don't-
gonna allow
she
that.
don't all of a sudden come up with a fatal illness.
No, but Trump knows how to get rid of you. It's simple. It's just say, you know what, you're on the list, so your people can't come. Once he does that, like he's done with Somalia, Venezuela, Cuba, all these other places, that's it. Because a lot of people go for tourism, and people in the islands live in the U.S. And now you're the one saying that's what happened with Ralph Gonzalez. That's what happens. Is the people say,
Which
no,
is why it's important for us to focus on our agriculture,
we should.
because the day that it could happen in the time that he has left,
3
that
years.
that he stopped them both from coming this side.
Well, people have to understand, you know, the oil ties in not just for the oil ties into Cuba.
I tell him about
Venezuela.
the food.
Well, I know about the food, but the food ties in with oil. Where does Cuba get its oil? To do the things that related to food from Venezuela. So if you can't get the oil anymore from Venezuela, then the only one you can really get it to is from Russia. And Russia ain't coming in. So the hardship on the people of Cuba is about to skyrocket. Is one nation controlling the hemisphere, and the one nation gets away with it, just like the Russians in Europe and now the Chinese in the Pacific, because all of them are saying the same thing. All of this ties under our national security,
And that is
and nobody
why,
can
at
stop
least
us.
to put some kind of a check, we have to get rid of the GOP majority Congress.
But we still have a year. I'm a Republican. Everybody Miss Moore, I'm trying to slow down with radio but everybody calling me. I don't get the most calls. Not even the leadership in the VI Republican Party. They don't even know where they are. But anyway, I'm getting all the calls.
He's a Republican, he's an independent, and neither of us see changing.
No, I never gonna change.
Me neither.
I'm 50 years old. Why gonna change to? Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I have issues with the direction the president takes on a lot of
Well,
issues.
the same
But
way.
that's in
The
any
same
party.
way I had
That's in any party.
I had issues because I was, from the time I first voted, an independent citizens movement person, and it was the issues of the leadership and the
Yeah,
direction
It happens.
why I just changed that to independent. But
Right,
I told people all the time I will never be a Democrat.
right.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Afternoon.
Blessed and highly favored. Hope you are sane. Thanks for calling.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
You know, we talk about parties. I was a Democrat, but I found myself and I became a Republican.
Okay.
You're making Mr. Brown feel good.
Of the Democratic Party and how it was founded. And who created that Democratic Party? I couldn't be a part of such a thing.
Right.
You know? Even here in the Virgin Islands, how that party is supposed to be. You know? These things need to be taught in our school, that simple thing like that. You know, when you give it to pass, and all that stuff.
Yes.
Victory 66 and so forth.
Of course.
That's what government does.
Yep.
But take steps so that they could make a better decision. I want to make the community a better place to live in by making a right decision to see what party you want to do. You might just go, you might not just say, you know what, we'll move forward with that 366 and we go, independent.
Right.
But we cannot stand the path of self-destruction and staying out of the Democratic Party. It's not working. It's the hinder us based on the war economy. We lost a big part of our agriculture community from them to now. I mean, where do we start? But if we have a president in office, but boy, he's really looking out for his best interest based on, it's my money and I want it now. I think it's really his money, people's money. But he's looking out for self-interest and looking out for his money based on capitalism. So in the end, he has 3 years, as much business as he can worldwide. As much as he can.
But we can slow him. We can slow him down by making the Congress Democrat.
Yes.
Maybe the House. I don't think they're gonna win the Senate.
They
But
can,
I don't know about that, Miss Moore. It don't
because
look so.
people leaving and
You
leaving
forget
and
the guy
leaving
with
the
districting going on all across the country,
hello.
This districting serious up
Yes,
there,
but and they're pushing back.
Yes, they are.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot with seats disappearing. There's a lot of seats reappearing. And
Okay.
It's
No, but also you see what we're not taking in mind is that every time Trump makes some ridiculous decision, he's only pushing people more into the fact that we got to just stop with this GOP.
But remember, he said, Carl and Miss Moorhead, he said recently, I don't need Congress anymore. I mean, he's gotten 90%
and
of
that
what he
in
wants.
itself
I mean, that's
tell- But that in itself will encourage people to vote Democrat because they know, and it's repeated all the time in the media, that the Congress can make a difference if it had
checks and balances.
Exactly. Okay, so that is encouraging people.
Yeah, the Constitution still exists.
Yes.
Yes.
But between Biden and now Trump, they have destroyed the Constitution based on executive orders. The amount of executive orders
Yes.
under Biden.
I agree. That's bad.
90 something, and then Trump beat him out by 215 or something like that by executive order. But what it does is cut up the Constitution to give the power to the president to do whatever he needs. So it takes away the checks and balance within the House and
Yes.
the Congress and the Senate and so forth. So the Constitution exists, but it really and truly don't exist because he's doing something, getting something on his behalf. We don't care about the people.
Yeah, Carl, I think that statement with the executive order is one that is very concerning to a lot of folks because these executive orders come out and then the next administration comes in, does an executive order. That's where you see, a lot of folks, Ms. Moore, too, will probably not go back to try to get a federal job. That's pretty clear because of the inconsistencies, and you're not sure if in 4 years, a new administration, you're out again. So these things are doing tremendous harm to the infrastructure of the nation in regards to the civil servants. And I guess we all just have to see how that plays out over the weeks and months and years to come.
Yes. So those executive order under President Biden and President Trump have gone against the Constitution. Based on what's in their best interest. So I will just check them.
No problem. Thank you,
Thank
Carla.
you for the comments.
And that's why I said, Ms. Moore, we are at a point as a people, and it's tough because like I just said, one of the members in Congress just recently said yesterday, he put forward a bill to stop dual citizenship. His focus is if you're a citizen of the United States, it only should be the United States.
Yeah.
And that's significant. It probably, yeah, I have one number 3.
Okay.
You want me to get to that?
I just want, because I don't want you to run out of
No, not
time.
at all. Not at all.
Good afternoon and welcome.
After the tone.
Hello.
Okay, call back, caller. So we'll see what happens with that. Number 3 is the education component, which all of the discussion. Let me wait.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yeah. Executive orders can only come about where Congress has not passed a law. If
Right.
Congress has a law on that issue, then the president can't do an executive order.
Right.
So if there are executive orders happening, that means Congress has not looked at issues that are relevant. And so Congress needs to go ahead and act if they want, if what the president, no, even if what the president is doing is what they want, they're supposed to go and make a law. And it didn't just start with Biden. Actually, it started with Obama, because if you remember, when he got in, Mitch McConnell was the leader of the House, I believe, or was it the Senate?
The Congress.
But he
Senate.
made
Senate,
yeah,
yeah,
the Senate.
Senate.
he was going to oppose anything Obama said.
Yes.
And he did. They opposed everything. And so the only way Obama could get any action taken was to do executive orders. And he did a lot of them because Congress was just being, outright, as I said from the beginning, saying it doesn't matter what he says, we're going to oppose it. So he had no choice.
Well,
Pardon?
no, I mean, Carla, if you go back and look at the whole foundation of the Constitution and the structure, I mean, yes, they're co-equal branches of government, but the Congress is the one who makes the laws, and the Congress is the one that deals with the appropriation.
But if they don't, the president doesn't have to just sit there on his hands.
Correct.
He can't do an executive order.
Correct.
And that's what was happening. They were not addressing issues. They were not coming up with laws that the public needed. And they were telling Obama that whatever he says, they're going to reject. And so he did executive orders. And similar to Biden, I'm sure presidents in the past have done this, that there's some topic that has come up. Congress has not addressed it, hasn't made a law on it, because that's the only thing they can do executive orders on. If Congress already has a law on this, they can't do an executive order. They can only do executive. So this is showing that there are areas that Congress has not addressed.
But it ties into what Ms. Moorhead is saying. Even though I disagree with the oil issue, and your point is valid. 19 million Americans did not vote in the last election. 19 million. So Trump tells everybody all the time. You hear him still up to today. The people voted for me, and I told them what I was going to do, and they still voted for me. Now some of those people regret it because they're all over the place saying I regret it. But at the end of the day, 19 million did not vote. So,
and then there was a lot that voted against him. He didn't win by a landslide. He won by a relatively narrow margin. In terms of the electoral college he got, but in terms of the popular vote, it was not an overwhelming endorsement of him. I forgot what the difference was, but it wasn't that it was not a landslide at all. A lot of Americans did not want him as president.
Yeah, but they voted for him though, because remember, you don't get elected by the popular vote. You get elected by the electoral college, and he did beat the vice president very badly with that.
So when you look at the electoral college, it was a much bigger thing.
Yes.
If you look at the popular vote in terms of what Americans were thinking and wanting, it was not an overwhelming endorsement. I forgot the percentages, but he didn't win by a big percentage.
Well,
a lot of Americans disagreed with the policies he put forward.
Well, Carla, let's go on, Ms. Moorhead.
All right. Thank you, Carla. We'll move on.
But Ms. Moorhead, the thing about it is to keep in mind, and I guess a lot of Hispanics are now regretting, and they're saying that, and my side is very concerned about the turnout, especially amongst people of color. But as I said before, the president has said it. I said it again yesterday, that pretty much he's the president and he's going to make these decisions. And in essence, he has 3 years. And if whatever he gets sick, as some people are concerned about his state, his physical state, J.D. Vance is even more conservative than Donald Trump. So
this is why I'm pointing out that there's a possibility to change
next year.
the Senate,
Yeah.
because
you
just today, when I turned on the news this morning, there's the announcement that he's now looking to focus on SNAP.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Now,
a big issue for
as you
us.
pointed out with the immigration, he offended the Hispanics. Now with the SNAP, he's really going to be offended the Caucasians.
Right.
Members of his base. Yes.
Yes.
The rural, yep. So that all that is going to add to the fact that we can change
Of course,
that whole majority.
anything can
Okay.
change in politics. You
And
know?
that, I mean, it's not necessarily going to be something that's going to be the best, but it would be better than it might have been if we keep
Right.
that GOP
So what-
majority.
Yeah, so the trifecta. So what you're saying, because even let's say the Senate was to Republicans, the White House is Republican, the House, that's gridlock. But I
Mhm.
guess what you're saying to me is gridlock is better than what we have now in your mind. Is that pretty accurate? Am I
What-
sensing that?
What I'm saying is that, it won't be so much gridlock anymore. Well, like, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess you call it
Here we go,
gridlock.
yeah. They have to work together.
In addition to that, there will be movement because
They have to.
there will be investigations
Yeah.
that will bring out some
True.
facts and truth. Yeah. That,
So you're concerned about the separation of power and the fact that it's co-equal and it should function co-equally. That the president shouldn't get to do what they want, Congress shouldn't, the judiciary, it should be co-equal, and that there's some structure in that. That's what
Yeah.
I'm getting hearing from you, Ms.
Yeah.
Moore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
some would say that's the way it's been for 80 years.
well, it's like with the whole thing with states, it's the process.
It's a process.
We need to focus on the process.
And
Keep-
then
keeping the process accurate.
And then that ties into my third discussion, which I think may be the most important, especially for the younger people and the parents.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of folks took the one big beautiful bill for a joke, but it's not a joke, especially when it comes to education. And there are a lot of, statements here and around the nation about certain professions now. Nursing, education, counseling supervision,
Yeah.
all of these are no longer considered professions. Folks, that's not accurate. Your preferred social worker is a professional. They're talking about funding. And so what was happening is that folks were going in, parents and students, and taking out this massive amount of loans, which we've talked about a little bit, Ms. Moore. And some of you are a social worker, your salary may cap out at $70,000, but you go take out $200,000, $300,000 in loans. Can't pay it back. That's
And
a problem.
This is where, and if they're not equipped to do it, this is where I see it, that UVI needs to hire a well-greased machinery of public relations
Yes.
to push their program at UVI for teachers, counselors, whatever. But the government has to make it. And I can't remember if it exists as part of that free tuition bill that you have a contract.
You're supposed to do employment at the end.
But is it mandatory? I can't remember the language.
I think
because
it's
that's what we
mandatory.
need.
I think it was a contract that once you
But-
get the money, you have to do the employment component.
Well, we need to look
I
into
can look
that.
back and
We
see
need
about
to look
whether
back
it's
because
mandatory.
yes, because it needs to be mandatory, say for at least 5 years. That once you get to attend UVI, get free tuition to get your degree to teach, to counsel, to whatever, that you must, don't give no choice. You must give the VI government
Right.
5 years.
Well, I think it's a staggered. You know,
It's
remember?
it's
If you get extra
optional because if you don't, if anything, you got to pay back something.
Right. Yeah, it's staggered. It's not a full.
But I don't think it should be that.
You think it should be mandatory?
Yes,
Well, that's an
Five-
interesting
at
point.
least 5 years. That gives us then the opportunity to build
build
back.
Right.
Exactly,
And that's why.
which is what we need.
But that's what I said to
And
everybody.
given, I mean, whether the Congress change or not, Trump is there for a certain amount of more years.
3 more years.
Okay, so we can be sure that we're going to be competing with preparing people who are looking to head, taking our,
Yeah, but that's one of the things now in the Virginia that students and parents need to sit down and think, because the amount, even for graduate school, the amount right now, come July of next year, is 20,000 cap. So for those who are not in a professional degree, the law, medicine, stuff like
Mhm.
that, clinical psychology, my degree, a doctor of education in counseling psychology. So if you have that end part with that psychology component, you're considered a professional, which gives you more money in reference to the student loans. And so parents need to understand that. And all of this is being impacted Parent Plus program. There's so many changes. in regards to how much money that you can take out. And the average graduate program starts at 24, so they calculate at 20. So just life happens, children happen,
But
homes
I
happen.
really
It's gonna
think
be
that
a big
if
issue.
UVI do a massive, well done promotional thing, that we can even not only have our own people, but have people come from the mainland
Yes,
to UVI,
yes.
because to them, what's 5 years?
Right. I think I'm gonna be
Okay.
careful what I say, but I'm hearing that there's some legislation out there to do exactly that.
Oh,
Yeah, that's coming up.
oh,
You know, I know, but I can't get into it. But there's supposed to be more marketing, which should have been done. There have to be more mentorship, which needs to be done. But but as we've talked about free tuition, and I've talked to senators about
and
it.
I'm talking
And-
marketing to the level where you see where you will turn on the cable TV and you see
Oh,
these.
that's a lot of money, Miss Mohammed. I don't think
know.
that they're going that far. I think it's maybe more the high schools.
I mean,
but
you don't have to do it to the extent that they do as often, because those things is how often you run things as so the costs
Yes.
come up.
yes,
But if you can at least have a presence,
yes,
okay, that comes up once a week,
right,
even whatever,
right,
it's a different. It's a shown.
yes,
And as I'm saying is, there are people I believe will say, okay, we'll go to UVI
right.
and then spend 5 years in the
Right.
Virgin Islands enjoying the sun, sea, and sand.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
work back. And that's the
And
law.
that will help us rebuild.
Yeah, and parents have to sit with their children and really be honest. I mean, if you have millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands, you don't care. Your child wants to go to, whichever school, that's not a problem. But we know that's not a lot of our families.
Yeah.
And that 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 adds up over academic years.
Yeah.
And especially if your child then decides he or she wants to play around and waste a whole
Mhm.
year or two,
Yeah.
and now that money you got to pay back,
Yeah.
it can be devastating because again, life, children, more
Yeah.
house, everything,
And
comes into
everything
play.
on the mainland is increasing.
And exactly.
Airfare is increasing, rent is
Everything.
increasing, all kinds of things is
So-
increasing.
So I know that from 2019
So,
to now, it's a 200% increase in the free tuition. But I will say this to the senators because I keep hearing this, and I think I have a problem with this. And that is that if you create a law, you need to respect the law. Don't ask me as a constituent to respect the law. You ain't respect the law. The law says it's supposed to be funded annually for $3 million. Don't tell me about any other program, because you, as lawmakers, you're supposed to find the funding source for
Yeah.
your legislation.
Yeah.
And Governor Mapp said the RUM cover over $3 million annually. Don't tell me about another program.
And all
That's
it is,
wrong.
if you're
That's wrong.
seeing the reward, is because you're not enforcing
You're not
the
enforcing.
other part, which
Yeah.
is, and I'm sure there are people who have gotten and just jump on the plane and gone.
Again, that's not what it's because the
And I'm
program.
saying that because I know of it.
Yeah, people will do it.
Hello,
People will do it.
the Morris de Castro thing going.
Yeah, the people will do
Okay.
it because
Yes, folks,
you're
I'm
not.
talking about the Morris de Castro award that the board handles.
Yeah.
There are several high
That's wrong.
credit, influence people, whatever you want to call them, that use that Morris de Castro award and into a blasted thing in the VI.
And that's wrong. That's what I have problems with.
But again, it's like I said, it is
You
the
benefit
board
from here.
that
and
allows it.
you live here. You're benefiting from the opportunities here that are not in other places. And I only require you to give back some two taxes. You're working, and you want to just get the benefit and take off. That's
Yeah.
not right.
Yeah.
That's wrong. But then that's UVI and the Department of Labor to come work hand in hand, and the high schools to have mentorship to
Yeah.
prepare our students to go there, do what they have to
Yeah.
do within the 2 or 4 year period, and get out. Don't tell me that they have to take skills and no, I ain't into all of that because that's just wasting time. You should
Yeah.
come out of high school. I understand you may take one skill, but you can't be in skill for 3-4 years.
No.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You should be prepared to go right in, get the benefit,
Yeah.
get into the workforce, pay your taxes, and after the requirement is met, you're on the plane, do whatever you want.
We have to.
With the board scholarships, because that's the next piece. People are forgetting you guys offer scholarships.
But we have to make sure, and folks, I'm saying this serious. Let the aspirants know, the candidates know, that education has to be number one agenda. for all aspirants and candidates. We are at a point
In our
where
history,
we cannot allow any further disregard for public education.
we
So
can't.
every single aspirant, every single
We can't.
candidate for the Virgin Islands and the United States have to have public education
Yes.
as a number one item, or otherwise we're not going any place.
The times that we live in are not different from our ancestors in many ways. They had to go through these emperor moments, these superpower moments, as we like to say. Ours is very different because our time is different in and of itself. Situations were different. But it is clear that what we're seeing is a nation that is becoming more insular, and the benefits that the citizens have had over the last 80 years changing. Some ways just being taken away. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm not debating that. But you have to take care of yourself. You have to do for yourself. A lot of, you said SNAP, a lot of Virgin Islanders are going to get off of SNAP with this new recertification. It's just a reality. How are you going to take care of yourself? Now, great that we have $24 billion from the federal government. Great that we have the military here. They're here to stay, right? Great. Maybe not to you, Ms. Moore, the refinery may open. But the other side of that is high rent, high food costs. You understand? Things that make it very difficult for you to live here. Because you need shelter and you need food. You have to be able to cover that. We're seeing every day our people just leaving in droves because they can't afford to live here.
But
They
education
need the education.
is the foundation of all of it.
Yes,
All of it.
everything.
Okay.
Even health, as you
Yep.
should, as you mentioned to me.
Yep.
Even health.
All of it. And whether you just want to be a business person, the education is important because you need that financial understanding.
Of course, financial literacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a people, we got overcome whatever fear. We gotta be ready to make that leap and decide what we're going to do. I tell
And you
people,
know, when I look back, because well, I'm much older than you, but when I look back, I understand that that is the difference between our government then and our government now. Because I recall that when I first became a voter, election time, education was always in the top three of any candidate's agenda.
Mhm,
Always. And
mhm.
really, I've tried to recall and pinpoint when it disappeared. And it was somewhere, as I recall, around maybe about the middle 90s. It's where I think we were like feeling our oats, thinking that we saw, we got going and we just
Yeah.
fantastic. And everybody was like, I'm great, and not recognizing that it was that education, that understanding, that knowledge that added, that contributed to the position that you're in.
Yeah.
And just full of themselves, like most of our leadership now.
Well, most
I
people.
would dare to say that Governor Bryan thinks he's man-made.
Why you say
Education
that?
had nothing to do with it.
Why you say that?
Hello, I mean, listen to how the man talks. Look at his education department. You part of it.
I'm part of it.
I part of it too as my member of the board,
Yes. Yes, we are.
participating
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
And as I see, it is lacking attention.
And we have a lot to blame. I mean, the folks are doing the best that they can do. I want to say that because they probably listen
And
and
they
watch it.
had the access to the
but we can do
most
better.
money, bro.
We have a lot of money.
That's why I
We've had a
said
lot of money.
the man full of himself
We had
and
a lot
really
of
have
money.
no respect for education.
We've
Because
had
this
a
is
lot
the
of money.
one administration that in education, and I remember my then deceased nephew all the time because I used to say million, and he would always correct me and say, Auntie, it was a billion they get.
We've gotten a lot, $24 billion
Eh?
for 133 square miles.
And not
Wow.
one
Wow.
public school facility can we look at and say, we did something.
Well, they said the one over in Farmer, Evelyn Williams, that's gonna be the new Arthur Richard. I guess it's coming along. I haven't seen it, Miss Mark, but I passed by. It didn't go too far to the road. But they say it's supposed to look real nice. I just telling you, your face done turn up on me. I gonna say And the governor said it's going to be really nice, and we're gonna all feel pride in that. And all of these new buildings that's going to be constructed. I'm not siding with the governor, folks. I'm just saying what the governor said. You looking at me with his forehead, but that's what he said. Now, how that works out with all of them children, we are going to find out, right?
I am waiting to see myself. And folks, I say that because I was a member of what they had called the commission, or was it committee? The advisory committee
Mhm.
on construction and something else.
Yes,
And I took that position serious.
that's a very
And-
serious position.
And like it was like all of a sudden it just disappeared.
Because we got a no maintenance division.
No,
No.
because we were supposed to be the ones talking about where schools go, new schools,
Mm-hmm.
what they. I mean, that's what we did concerning the Arthur Richards School.
And we'll get back to that.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, again, Dr. Brown, still listening. And again, correct with what Trump said. You got to pay attention to what he said. Again, he said these things and he ended up doing it. As I told you all of us do it. Now, let's bring it closer to home. How would the governor do anything with or about education when he said during the campaign that he knows nothing about education? When he said that we don't like farming because we don't like to get we hand dirty. The Commissioner of Education, when the children walk out, she thought she would have listened to at least the small things that they were talking about, and she would start to do them, and she started doing them, and he struck her down publicly. You
And
don't know nothing like
And
that.
she didn't come back from that at all.
Huh?
She didn't catch herself from the time he slammed she down with that.
He good,
That-
you know.
I mean, that woman hasn't said peep since then.
How she gonna catch herself, Peggy? I know the lady personally because of her father.
Well, I'm sorry. If she'd been from Western, she would have catch herself long time.
And I asked her why the hell you don't tell him take this job and shove it and go
Okay,
home.
there you go.
Why people afraid to leave job?
Because they take the jobs and the position as them.
As
I mean,
them.
I don't know how
That's
to describe it. It's like if, for
Like
instance,
them.
some people think that there's and I know quite a few senators that want to be a senator. Okay, and I
You can't
know
call them senators,
you got,
you know.
and when they lose a senator position, they feel that their jobs they can't take because it is demeaning.
Yes. It's
Oh, yeah.
hubris.
Yeah,
hubris.
yeah.
It's hubris.
And I think that's the situation we have now. People in Western we like that. Instead of take the job and shove it, and if we got to, we pick up garbage because the point is it is more honorable to
West
tell you
people-
shove it than to go sit down there and then you tell you what to do.
Peggy and Dr. Brown, I have
Yeah.
been in high positions in the government and the federal and the federal government for almost 30 years. And I am out of those positions because I'm not, and I've never been afraid to speak up.
Well, you must have got some blood from Western people.
No, it's a human blood.
Okay, well, that will come. But hello, that is what helped me in 1848, and we had to help her, you know.
Hey, good. And as much as I respected Alex Perry for being a dominant Democrat, and I being a dominant ICM, I refuse to take his offer to switch to Democrat and keep the executive director job. That was said I tell my know I live, and I went home.
Well, basically, don't names. This is really what is hampering us as a people, because I'm seeing it more and more with people that once they get and it make it even worse if they got that so-called doctorate, a PhD. Once they've been to a certain level, if that is removed, somehow or the other, it's like they're removed. They lose all I don't know what to call it. It's one of them psychological things,
It is for many.
you know. And if they could overcome that, we would be better off because we would have people who could stand up for principle.
Right, and your ladies, they both respect you.
But we don't have
You
it.
see?
We don't have it.
But let me just say this and go because it was raised in another talk show station 2 days or so ago, and my name came up when they were talking about housing.
Mm.
And somebody came to my defense. That is not that I needed to be defended. I remember when I went before the legislature. At the time, I was acting commissioner of housing, and Ruby Rouse and my friend Chucky decided they're going to mop up the floor with me. I tell me I ain't building no housing. So I said, okay, you just approved a budget of $6.9 million. I can't build housing with that, but I got a package here for $26 million. Oh, no, right away, they meeting that because we're going to find $26 million from. You see? And the thing is, and I give all the folks that have helped me credit. Alvin Burke, God rest him, Assistant Commissioner of Housing and the Urban Planner, and Roy Canton, an architect. We had a plan put together in the 60s to build 1,000 units per year for 5 years in 500 each in each district. When I was asked to go home, and I did, the plan went belly up. They tried to revive it with administrations after that because they remained in government, and nobody would touch it. So the balling, the overcrowded, that's breathing itself. Give me a break.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want? You know?
Yeah.
Housing does not come cheap.
No. No, it doesn't. No, it
We
doesn't.
were talking about building homes for under 100,000. So they're going to start at 300,000 for you.
Almost 400.
What
No,
are they
Yeah, almost 400 in St. Croix now. Almost over $1 million. St. John is one of the most expensive places to live under the U.S. flag,
But
housing-wise, or home.
we somehow don't learn from these skills, you know?
St. Thomas right behind.
Well, you got people who ain't got vision, like the chairman of the Fetching GRS board.
I didn't see that one coming.
I don't laugh at them. That's all I can say. You know?
All right.
But the thing about housing, and this is the part, Ms. Moorhead, again, a lot of decisions have to be made because we're looking at a situation very soon. When Lime Tree was here, remember Lime Tree, and then we had the hurricanes and how bad that got. That was just a test run to what we may face right now. Like I said, the 24 billion is here, and the man camp is full with the military people.
Line 3 is still we're in court.
And you guys are
full
in court?
disclosure, I am part of a plaintiff for one of those cases
Okay.
with the oil spray business.
Right.
And
And so
it's still
it's
going.
proceeding. And so
Yep.
if you look at it now, 24 billion, the military is here maybe for the rest of the existence of the United States. I don't see them going anyplace. Again, we're in a time where it's missiles. It's not just I'm going to put you on a boat and send you to Okinawa. The missiles can get any location in a matter of minutes.
So if they don't go any place, I'm going to blame you because you keep talking about we must open the final. Right? Welcome, Carla.
You throw that at okay, good for you. Go ahead. Sorry, Carla. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is this Ms. Moorhead?
Yes,
Yes,
Ms. Moorhead,
yes, and Dr. Brown, yes.
Okay, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
And, the term that I wanted to say to you, Ms. Moorhead, is grandiose delusion or delusions of grandiose.
Thank you, yes.
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 But yes, I wanted to say this, and it may sound off key, but would you allow me to be very, very brief?
No, you go ahead. Take your time. Take your time.
Yes, I don't want to sound, because the abuse and assault stuff is huge, and it's beginning to be just like temperament, okay? It's happening, it's like permanent. Just had a situation, Dr. Brown probably aware that occurred in Australia where they arrested a gang of It's like when you have like families that go through divorce
Mm-hmm.
and that child, they have child visitation. You have assault and abusive things that occur within the family. And if you're around members that are part of the elite group, they are covered up. And situations occur where you have hot weather where the children don't like each other
Yep.
because of a different parent, have been locked up in 100 and something degree car, babies left.
Yep.
And then we had a case where the mother brought the child in, dripping wet, things that she fell asleep and the child was in the car, he couldn't get it open. So she tried to cool the body down. And they came in and they were doing advanced cardiac life support. And you know, when you go cardiac on babies or whatever, you know, you can forget it. But the main thing is that the doctor, some of them knew who the family member was, attorney, whatever. And when we got the child in and you opened the eyeball shattered. It was just pure glass.
Wow.
Because that child been in that heat for so long. And, you know, it's supposed to be moist, but the eyeball shattered just like you break a glass. And, you know, you kind of, you know, I guess being a crucial, you like, excuse my expression, I don't know if you can cuss or not, but it's not the four-letter word. It's just that I just speak, you know, crucial speak how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what the shit? You know, because I've never seen the eyeball shattered. And then you look farther and they playing the game of doing the bagging and giving cardiac meds when they know that child has been dead on quite a while and that family member knew that.
Mm-hmm.
But because she didn't like the mother of it was visitation right, they left the child in there. It was a baby in the car with that overwhelming heat with all windows up. So you see a black and blue spot on top of the forehead, meaning somebody had hit the child in the head or they were fighting with the other children. But to make a long story short, you have all these different types of things that comes in, not just in the school system, but in, like, if you marry someone
Yes.
and that's not their child, and then they sexually assault that baby or whatever, someone that mother may have trusted or the father may have trusted the woman and they mistreat that child. They can't speak. They go through it and they're young babies. And never forgot that baby had to go through plastic surgery because of the abuse, the mental disturbed person that the lady thought that she married that was normal.
Yes.
But to abuse a baby girl, you know, these are some of the things. I didn't want to make your stomach turn.
Yeah.
But I just was saying that, you know, it's not just in that, it's prominent. And you see these things coming in, and you just, a lot don't be shared with the public.
Yes.
Some things are, and some things aren't.
Right.
But it's a serious, it's becoming more prominent, like I said, using peppermint candy. So awareness, like you guys are portraying and having policies and holding people accountable and surveillance, you know, who's there and who's responsible, you know, being responsible for the process you got to go through because you can also go to jail, contamination of evidence.
Yes.
You know, everything has to be done with this, that has to be done with everything you do. It's a long process.
Yes.
But it's a serious process. So you have to take it very serious because these are children.
Yes.
And you do have divorce cases. And, you know, these things, like you said, when troubled children come to school or whatever, you don't know what's happening at the home.
Right.
Or when they have visitation, right, you don't know what that stepfather or that stepmom or whatever is being done to that child. So I just wanted to express and share some of the experiences and what's really, really happening in the real world, you guys, okay?
Thank you.
So thank you for giving me the time. God bless you guys.
Yes.
Walk right. And I love you.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for calling.
And
all right.
And based on what the caller said, Ms. Warren, I think that's why I said what I said. You know, sexual assault is one of the most violent crimes in our collective humanity. And many victims never come forward. That's why I said I commend the boys, especially the boys, not to dismiss the girls, but the boy. A lot of times, as boys and men, when these things happen, we get quiet. We feel shame, and for young boys especially, it's many of them grew up questioning their sexuality, not sure whether they like girls, they like boys. They just go through a lot of trauma.
Especially with that type of assault, because they immediately feel that the people observing the
Yes.
public feel that, well, it happened to them because they have that tendency.
And that's not.
Yeah.
They're grown men who
so-
are men strong, and
Just
they've
like
been
with the
assaulted.
females, they just say, well, it happened to them because they're always dressed and exposing themselves.
No.
Or them,
Rape is
that
about
kind.
control.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand? And I know people who've committed terrible offenses to include sexual, assault. I know people. And many they have never gone back on, but they live with the consequences with family and friends. They ignore them, they don't talk to them because they feel a sense of guilt and shame, to even know this person who did this to a child. That's something folks have to live with. We all have to sit on our own bottom. The Jeffrey Epstein situation is just on a whole nother level. And what we're seeing even here with some of the individuals here who have been, multiple, not just one of these folks, even here, they're committing against multiple children.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they've been
Yeah.
convicted. I'm not going to talk about Mr. Boyd yet because he hasn't been convicted, but the others
Yeah.
have been convicted. And when you see what was said in the paper, like you said, folks who want to justify these behaviors, that's unreal. It's a crime.
Yeah.
It's a crime. It's not for you to decide, well, I like
Yeah.
Dr. Brown. No, it's a crime.
You
If I
see,
commit a crime, it's a crime.
He hasn't been convicted yet, but I speak like it is true because of the way we are as Caribbean people, and it is not readily it's not readily done that a young boy will say that someone abused them.
Very often they
because
don't report.
Of the
That is
whole,
true.
yes, because of the whole thing we have with this macho business
Goodness,
with
yes.
boys and whatnot. So for something like that, and then after all these years, that
That's
had to
co-
mean that it took a while for the
Like when he was in elementary school, he went to the
Yes.
nurse in high school.
yes,
And that goes to the other victims in the previous cases who've come forward and had that
Yes.
courage. And if you are being sexually assaulted and it has been done to you, go to the proper authorities. Don't
Yes.
let these criminals
yes.
continue to victimize our children by
Yes.
doing these things in the elementary, middle school, and high school.
And
Don't
I
be afraid.
definitely praise the
Don't be
nurse,
afraid.
whoever she was, for doing
That's
the
her
proper
job.
reporting,
This is why I'm having
Okay. So that we didn't go through the nonsense again with that investigation under education, wherever the hell that the whole
You see why?
game is.
You see why I'm upset with all of this stuff, with our leadership and all these people who sat. Did they do the right things?
Yeah.
I mean, the AG had to submit the report. So all this document that is now in Congress, did our leaders do? Did they said
And
we have reports? We know this. What did they do?
Mr. Brown, I think you will agree with me. Knowing the Department of Education and how it operates, that nurse gets some pushback. She gets some harassment.
You think so?
Hello.
I hope
If
not.
she were and
But they know not come play that with me.
okay,
I hope not. I
I'm
ain't
sure
playing
she
that.
probably there was I mean, serious enough to be harassing.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I mean, I could see that because I see
Yeah.
when you that put up your post and it's like people reluctant to say that what you're saying is right. And I'd be there reading, waiting for people, maybe one or two. Not everybody don't
Yeah.
respond. But I'm like, how can people just sit there and not respond? And this is children being abused.
Yeah.
Everybody should be upset. I'm not saying cut off, this
hear
ain't
you.
guillotine years.
No,
But
but
you should be
they
upset. It's
don't want
children.
to speak out because there are repercussions.
And it
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
I agree, but
We all
and
make
that's why
mistakes.
I
It shouldn't
know
be.
that nurse took some beating. I could pretty be sure of that.
But everyone is
And
more
if I ever knew who she was, I would definitely congratulate her for what she did. But I am sure she was told how you went and report that and didn't tell we first.
But that's her job.
Yes, it is.
Whether
It's
it's
the,
VIPD,
it's the law.
it's the law. Whether it's VIPD
Mandatory
or
reporting.
Department of Human
Yeah.
Services, that's your job.
Yeah.
Either which way, the child
Yeah.
come to the teacher don't really have
Yeah.
to come to me. The teacher
And I'm
can
sure
make the
she
phone
told
call.
them, but it's
But
just that she told the police the same.
Well,
Okay,
But
but the thing is
you
that
don't want the person go another day committing any offense. Yes, there is a process, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But the person may have been moved and went. They didn't go to the media. They went to the proper authorities.
yes, yeah,
The proper authority in this case, in these cases,
Yeah.
is the Department of Human Services or VIPD
Yeah.
or both if you have a situation.
but when you go to the proper authorities, then it is on the black or whatever, and it becomes public knowledge. And this is
So who
what the
protecting?
Department of
Politicians
Education
and
is
people?
always protecting. The Department of Education, and I don't understand why they have this attitude that they always want to give the impression that our schools are perfect.
But they're not. No school is perfect.
But
I
Mr.
mean,
Brown,
as the caller said, there are
yes,
problems
but you know,
in the
Mr.
mainland
Brown,
and around the world. Look at India with what's going on
Yeah.
with young girls in India.
Yeah.
Serious problems with sexual
Mr.
assault
Brown,
in
that's
India.
how it is, and that is why that we have supposedly a process where people can be able to be volunteers in the government, particularly in the public schools, as long as they have an acceptable, a clean police record. But the Department of Education does not encourage volunteers
Right.
because it doesn't want people there to expose whatever problem they may be
Or
having.
create their own problem.
Okay.
Because they got people got problems. They have issues. And they get into education, volunteer, startup, volunteer, come this, come that. And then next year, here we hear all of these issues. But I want to say no one should be defending Mr. Epstein. No one should be defending the people who enabled him. They should not be defending, in my opinion, the people who had poor judgment. Don't tell me
I agree.
about no judgment. Like Dr. Brown down the radio judging. You represent me. I didn't ask you. You went and decided you want to run. I didn't ask you. None of them. You did. And when you said that you, as you said, talking my crew, and when you said that you want to lead people,
Yeah.
then you're saying that you have the clear moral judgment
Mhm.
to make the best decisions for the people that you represent.
Yeah.
You represent the person who every night wants to go to the synagogue, the mosque, the church, or whatever, and the person every night who they're in the bar getting drunk and having a merry time. You represent everybody. And with that, you have to have clear, sound judgment. So I want to know, did the EDA chair and the board between 2008 to 2012, what did they say about this man? Don't tell me what Congress, tell me here. All of you tell us, you represent us. Don't let me hear from Congress, because then I gonna get vexed and I gonna make phone calls.
Well, this is all.
Because I ain't tolerating
We
that.
wanna hear
Don't tell
from
me from
Congress.
Congress.
When
You tell me no.
When Congress get him documentation, that's what's going to
These
happen.
people are getting
They
to
gonna
this
learn from
position this
Congress.
morning and they have this idea that, you know, this hubris. Like I get here now and I go, let's move on. How you gonna tell people that you move on?
Yeah.
How you gonna do that? Let's get real. Who tell you that people want to move on because you want to move on? Really?
That's what happens.
Who is you? You text him.
Yep.
You text a man that raped
Yep.
1,000 children and
Yep.
women
Yeah.
violently.
Well, they were dependent on the fact that there wouldn't be a situation where it come to that position where you got to tell the
Come
truth,
on.
and all of us would know the
A bad idea? That's poor judgment. And I get those who want to say, well, you know, people running. I could care less who run for what. You know me. I gotta just pick up the phone, make my phone call. Whoever win, I don't care. But I don't want people leading me with poor judgment in
Yeah.
2025
Not at all.
when we got all of these issues
Not
that
at
we
all.
dealing with, and you there picking and choosing which issue.
all the time.
I never had these problems with
Yeah.
Delegate Christensen, with Victor Fred, none. But not having a problem with someone who wants to tell me, move on, with somebody who came with people here.
Yeah.
The women them said, some of them I watch it on Netflix. I don't watch it. Them women said, some of them, I wanted to get off that island. I went there, I thought it was a modeling thing,
Yeah.
or some of them had done whatever before, but when they got there, they said, no, I don't want to do this. Let me off. He ignored them.
Yeah.
The women them running around the island,
Yeah.
running, trying to get from him. They're trying to figure out, should I swim?
I-
He come approach them and say, where you going?
I just can't
Come on.
understand people seeing children who are being abused, who are being done right,
Hundreds?
and not want to help. I just, that is something I can't
That's something we're
understand.
supposed to be proud about. And then let people walk because they name governor. No, you ain't walking. I would make the phone call to Congress and find out what really going on. You don't know me, Miss Moore. This thing will irritate me. Because it wasn't like he made
Well,
one mistake. This man with
as-
hundreds of
As
people.
I said already, Mr. Brown, and I'm going to keep saying
The
it
people need to go.
till November 6th or whatever it is. People, if that woman run for any position at all in the Virgin Islands of the United States, I need to just leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Leave it
Don't defend
alone.
that.
She
Don't defend
cannot
that, man. Don't defend
be,
that. Don't
she
defend that.
cannot represent us in any position. Like there are people in the Senate, even that catcher.
Whoever the God farmer, all of them gonna plead the fifth. Watch and see. People watch and see. You know, I ain't gonna tell every last person that did subpoena from here gonna plead the fifth. You know why you gonna plead the fifth?
But
Because
they can't do that, right?
you could plead, you could say you ain't incriminating yourself. Remember, you know,
Is there a situation where they said that you can't? Where it is?
remember, Miss Moorhead, Congress has investigative powers. They already said if they find more information, they're going to move to the Justice Department to bring charges again. Some of those charges may be that we don't know. Remember, they have a 1-800 number that
Yeah.
anybody could call and give information. The
Yeah.
people who work there, all of these people, some of these people now will call because they have nothing to lose. It's in Congress. So you go up there and start running your mouth. And the member of Congress said, but I have a constituent call, or one of your constituents in the Virgin Islands call and said they saw you ABC, did this and that time.
Yeah.
Now you're messed up. So you just plead the fifth and say, I don't have nothing to say. All of them gonna do it because they don't know what Congress has. The EDA problem is in problems. They could sit here and play games, but I know Congress is
Well,
not
the
going to
only
let them.
ones who are not going to plead the fifth are the ones who know they didn't do anything wrong.
But who ain't do anything wrong? How does a man go from level 3 to level 1? How do you give him 60-something million dollars and then he uses that money to then help victimize the people? Where's the reports and the EDA and the meetings to show you how the discussion? These are just questions the people on Congress can ask. You have to answer that. So you want to tell me, all of you sitting in a room, none of you question this man to say he's a level 3 sex offender? And other people who do that, they get dragged through the mud.
Mhm.
They can't go on the plane, they gotta go through all kind of thing, and that's just the way it is. But how he could just come off his private plane and go on a helicopter with all of these girls?
Yeah.
How could he be in his own place? People working there, seeing underage girls topless, some of them totally naked, and you not call and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? And these people will do interviews on the TV and say they saw this.
Yeah.
What's in this place? And we got all these people now on trial over in St. Thomas for corruption too. What is be? Let's just suck the Virgin Islands dry and get
Well,
what
I
people
hope it
get.
continues. I hope that.
I hope so
that- that-
too.
Because
Get rid of
my
these people.
position is that everyone
No,
who
man,
is
no,
part
no,
of the
no.
corruption in this place need to be held accountable. Because what is distressing, Mr. Brown, is that I am seeing what you all call the millennium. That's them that they're like from 18 to
Maybe 13.
30,
Right. I'm Generation X, right?
Okay. That very well presented, educated people in those and I mean come in, they speak well, they seem to know whatever topic they're dealing
Yeah.
with. But the problem I have is
What's the problem?
they're part of the corruption. And when I hear them and their position or find out afterwards about the past, because some of them have been in positions and seemingly were asked to leave, but it wasn't a public thing for us to know, and only certain people that know. And sometimes now I go around and say, oh, well, you know, this young person, and I give the name, and I say,
And they
they
say,
tell me,
no.
they tell me they run it, and it, you ain't know
What
what.
they do. I hear that. That's why I tell you. All of these people have problems.
And I am like dumbfounded. I get in
Yeah.
my car and I drive and I think about God damn it.
Yeah.
They're young. They're well educated. They're well presented. Why is it they think that they can do the corruption and do it better. Why is it that they don't want us to do right? Why? And I never took up psychology or whatever
because as human beings, there's so many, Miss Moore, that's a question. There's so many angles.
but that's what's killing us now, Dr. Brown. That is what is killing us now. The ones who are honest and who want things to be right, they're the ones that catching the plane and going back.
Right. Because you want to deal with it.
They're the ones that say,
I like dealing with it. I like dealing with this. I like dealing with this.
Well, my thing is, I like dealing, but my thing is, somebody got to deal with it.
That's what I'm saying.
Because if we don't deal with it, it's only going to get worse.
Right.
And we can't allow it to get worse because we must recognize that our ancestors put their life
to get us to this point.
Life. I just tell people,
their life.
This life would die. You don't know the history.
The days mash them up.
Somebody said, wait, was I hear that thing where somebody said they might have shoot them or something or threatened to shoot them, and I was
who? Ancestors?
Oh Lord, I just get
people
something.
Yeah, like they were.
All I'm going to say, leave it alone. It was a classroom observation. It was a teacher.
But listen. We back to what I tell you.
The children, if people do so and so, all happen is they might have threatened to shoot them or something.
You see now?
And I'm sitting there thinking, my God, you got the history wrong.
But Miss Moorhead, I told you this day was coming. So I guess they're going to do whatever they're going to do. But a lot of people aren't prepared to teach VI and Caribbean history like me. And I'm not a teacher in history. But I know a lot of people, and I saying it, and I kind of understand, but you're getting paid to. A lot of the international people, they ain't ready to teach VI history.
And I was too upset I couldn't
know that?
I couldn't ask the question.
Which question?
Where did you get your information that you're sharing with these children? I couldn't ask the question. Guys, I was upset enough sitting there listening.
You see now? That's what we need. Okay. That's what we need, Miss Moore. That's what we need. Man, we're playing games.
I didn't even realize to the extent of how I was upset. How I realized is because one of the other members who was in the classroom with me afterwards said, "Boy, you look like you are just one."
Because it's hard to sit in a room.
If you had seen your face, you was cringing and carrying on.
It's hard enough.
You was going.
Because when you hear people say the history and they acting like they know it and they sound good at it, but you know what they're saying?
It was not true. I mean, she actually said, they might have threatened to shoot you. And I'm thinking, threatened to shoot you?
They shot you!
They chopped your ass into all kind of pieces. And I said, well, where are they getting this information from?
They don't know the history. And that's the problem. And that's the problem. And that's the problem, Ms. Moorhead, because, folks, VI history is beautiful, but it's also very dark moments. And, you got to know what you're saying. And because they got folks here that know the history. And this is the same thing happening in the States. That's why they got so many lawsuits in the States about the history, and even up to now, because people who know it, like, you can't teach my children or my child or children a history that's not accurate. That's not true.
And you know what I'm hearing more and more, like with Charlton's show and even his commentary when he did another show, and all of them are admitting, because the history is not accurate, we are really repeating parts of it.
Right. You're lost.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. What you're talking about is exactly what I was trying to get at earlier. That people, they don't need to have experience, they don't need to have knowledge. People just feel they can make stuff up. And it's accepted in the Department of Education. And I hear it going on all the time. People just make things up. They don't know. They don't have any evidence. They don't have any logic to it, and then it's accepted. And this is what's going on throughout our community, from the lowest level to the highest level. And it's a part of our culture now.
Well,
accept stuff and ignore,
Some of
experience
it
and
is
education.
intentional.
Tell me something, because I know you must have thought of it. How do you think it can be counteracted?
Well, again, doing what is education based is asking people, well, how do you know this? What is your experience? Why should I believe you? What, give me your track record, give me your life experience as to why would you know this? And why should I believe you? And that's what we should be thinking.
But I don't know if that's going to help, because that's going to get you into is a debate and a back and forth, that usually things like that go negative. So I mean, the guy will be a better, huh?
And I guess it's for the people who have education and experience to hang their hat on it, to use it, to show people that, yes, I know things and understand things because I've had the experience / education. Because I said education is a shortcut. I don't have to go and learn what, I don't know, what's his name, Darwin. I don't have to go through Darwin's experiences and observations that took years and years. He has written them down, and I can read and learn what it took Darwin to learn. It took him 10 years to understand. I could read it in 10 minutes, and I have this experience. That's what education is about. It's about keep learning from other people's experiences, which again means it's tied to experience.
Yeah.
And that is what makes the difference between a guy who just started in the field 30 minutes ago and a guy who's been in the field 30 years.
Yeah.
How are each of their words equal? In what sane world would those two people, their words on the subject matter, be taken as equal? And any community that does that is going to find themselves in problems. There is a difference between 30 minutes and 30 years.
Right.
Okay, thank you, caller.
And thank you, caller, and Miss Moore, because I'm about to leave, folks. And thank you for the opportunity. As always, Miss Moore, I really come and I appreciate you allowing me to be. Your ratings always go off the roof. I always get people.
Well, did you just make the ratings go off the roof? Because you just come with the information,
I try to.
You do the research. I tell you, I'm not a researcher, so
I've been doing this research from small, but in answer to what we need to do, I keep saying, and I know that I'm correct. We need to deal with Denmark and Norway, especially, and get a lot of that history here. And we need to deal with the treaty, and we need to deal with our constitution and our status. And as the caller said, on individual basis and in the classrooms, to challenge the teachers and then the people that are there educating us, and to use the sources, whether it's AI or online, and all the things that we need to do in order to really educate ourselves. And I want to say this again, to folks, if you know someone is being abused, please call the proper authorities and get that person help.
Definitely.
I want people to know that this isn't something personal with me and the delegate. I just saw the delegate 2 weeks ago. She came up to me. She said, Dr. Brown, how you doing? I said, fine. And she dancing with the little children, and we all dancing in a room. It's not personal with me or anybody. I don't do that. And like I said, she came up to me.
Yeah.
So I would go up to her and say, how you doing? Because we're not children.
Yeah.
You understand? So when I'm talking about her stepping on, nothing personal about her. Is I have issues with her judgment in certain things. And that's my right. She doesn't have to step down because she was voted by the people. But the people need to understand that in the next couple of weeks and months, it's not going to look good for the Virgin Islands. Yeah. And many of you are going to be screaming at that time, please step down, please step down. And it's going to be too late at that moment.
The question I would like to ask her, if I could get the opportunity, is to how did she become one of the managers with the
up there for the impeachment?
The impeachment.
Well, she was competent. Clearly, she was competent.
Yeah, but but I want to know, was it something she volunteered for? Was something I don't think that is something they offered her.
Right.
For some reason, I don't, believe that it was offered to her. I believe that she reacts for it.
Could be.
Okay.
There was an
And I might
opportunity.
be wrong, but it is really a question that keeps coming to my mind that I say I would really, really like
Well,
to hear what she has to
I'll
say.
tell you and the listening out there, people always tell me, how you don't predict these things. I don't predict, folks. I do research. And when you do research the way I do, when you guys are sleeping at night, my wife is looking at me 2, 3 o'clock, come to bed. I'm doing research. I have copyrights and all these things, all of these things. Like I already have one on World War III, World War IV. I'm always at the table, whether you know it or not. I'm always at the table. And so you could ask the delegate, me and you talk. You could ask her. I told her this when she became the impeachment manager. And
Yeah.
she would say, Brown told me this. I said, listen here, if you're going to take this position as the impeachment manager, you make sure that you win. You make sure this man never comes back and hurts you and the Virgin Islands, because at the
But I
time he got
really
hurt
just don't
you.
understand why
And that's
she
what
wanted to do it. Because even though, okay, if she didn't volunteer and they came to her and offered it, she didn't have to say yes.
No, but it was an
Okay.
opportunity.
An opportunity for what?
An opportunity for exactly what happened, to show that you're competent, get a worldwide
But
attention.
yeah, but it's doing nothing
For
for
the
the
Virgin
job that you have,
as a
which is
representative.
representing the Virgin Islands people.
But if you believe that somehow this will lead to incorporation and all the things that she's talked about, which hasn't happened, you take a chance. You roll the dice.
Then
But
no,
the
then
dice-
you're telling me something is wrong with her intelligence, because how can doing that help us with our unincorporated position?
Because a lot more people then would know the Virgin Islands exist and under the American flag. That's the
Hello.
excuse that people always use.
Yeah, but when she was there doing that, I didn't hear not one interview that had to do with the Virgin Islands when there was an interview because she was in that position.
No, that's
Somebody insisted. I'm like, you're going to pitch. So good afternoon and welcome.
Hello. Yeah, leave a message. Hello, this is Tom.
Hold on, Carl.
Just hold on. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I thought about this, and I think it probably was, maybe her bringing it up or they bring it up. And of course, they're caucusing, and as all the politicians do, because of whatever, they decide who can handle this, who's in a district where it won't come back on them.
Right.
How many points did you win your election from or for? The same thing, like, because that was on my judgment right now to Speaker of the House.
But my
No,
position is
What's the benefit for
my
the body?
thoughts on that is she being as knowledgeable and as intelligent as she's
She is.
supposed to be, she should have seen that it didn't in any way benefit the territory she represents.
I'm getting to that. There is some benefit. Remember, she's not a voting member. She needs the people to vote for the things that she, so she needs people to owe her, so that she did a favor for. Donna Christensen did the same thing. She was in all
No,
these committees.
hold on.
No, that's a different.
No, hold on.
That's different.
Because one thing that Stacy does or did that Donna never did is Stacy always bragging about the connection she has and the relationship she has with different people, including Republicans.
She was a
Because
Republican.
that was going to say that. Now, I never heard Donna brag about these connections like
No, she
Stacy
never
does.
did. She never
So if you have the connections already, what the hell you need to put us in fire and range to secure any connections that you already have?
Yeah, well, apparently there were. I don't think there was significant that she may have that seemed to be. Apparently, she needed some more backing, some more, and I'm not even sure if she entirely got it or not.
Okay.
But I guess, but what I'm thinking is that she saw this as an opportunity to get that, and as Dr. Brown's sister said, she made choice. She may have made the wrong choice. But I'm guessing that's what she was going for.
Well, hello. Let me turn on the bulb for you and the listening audience. She didn't get it, because if she had got it, we would have get the $13.25 long time ago.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that.
Okay? Because remember, at that time, the Democrats were in control.
But that's the
Right.
issue now with Mike Crapo, because we're giving him a resolution and some, I guess, a plaque or whatever,
Yeah,
recognizing him. But that's his job.
exactly.
So
But
I'm a
you,
little confused.
but you know, this is the problem we.
But
If you look at Mike Johnson, where his district is, it's like in the northwest portion of Louisiana. It doesn't include Baton Rouge. It doesn't include New Orleans. My guess is a pretty lily white area, conservative. So he can afford to do all this nonsense, and he will get reelected.
right,
But
we understand that. Yes.
Go on with it.
But I think what Ms. Moore is saying, and folks are now saying, what was the benefit for the Virgin Islands, not for her or
I
the.
totally understand. And I would say that's what she was going for. I don't think she got it. And then you might question as to whether or not it was reasonable. It was a good, reasonable decision that for her to think that she was going to get it. But it's quite obvious that's what she was doing, trying to gain favor so people owe her stuff in Congress. So when she comes up with her bills and stuff, that they will.
But that didn't happen.
You ain't impressing me at all. You ain't convincing me, and that is.
I'm saying that's what.
That's what you're thinking.
I'm thinking that this is you asking what was her. You know,
And
what
as
was
I
her
said,
mindset.
she already had the contacts. She already. She told us that. I am not going by my magic. She told us that. She said that over. Bro, you ain't here. You never used to hear Stacey bragging about all the contacts and relationships we
She
have,
has a lot.
especially at campaign time. Okay? So how you going to tell me no that she took that position to do that, to get contacts that she already had?
Not contacts, but people who owe her stuff.
They all,
Who have some slight obligation to want to do what she wants. And I don't think when you just start in Congress, I don't think you get that. You get
She
that
didn't
by
just
doing
start.
Madonna did.
she been there a while, and because she was a part of that, they don't owe her nothing. That's
it.
the
She-
job.
yeah, that's
Okay?
it.
But I have,
When you knew, I don't think you know, even though she was saying
she wasn't new. Hello, you giving my people a wrong information. Stacy was not new when she took that position. Stop misleading my audience, please. But thank you very much for your.
I'm talking about being new as a delegate.
No, she wasn't new. When she became part of the impeachment, she was not new. That's my point. So don't use that as.
I'm talking about as a delegate. It's a different ball game.
Hello, but why you keep on thinking? You hear what I said? She wasn't new as a delegate.
What do you mean?
She was not new as a delegate when she became part of that impeachment. She was not
She was
new.
not.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
But it took Donna years and years of serving on committees and stuff like that to be able to wield some power.
Okay, so you're talking about the delegate. Okay, I see you guys. So you're talking about Stacey Plaskett being on the Ways and Means Committee, the Intelligence Committee, some of these powerful committees. It seemed like as she was doing things, it accelerated her to get on these powerful committees.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's how as far as I understand and see, that's how Congress works. You get in there initially, you start, doing stuff, favors for people. They call you up,
But Carla, I said it many years ago, and it's coming to pass. You may have ambition, you may get on these committees, but then you're asked to do things that in the moment you say yes, and then it comes back to haunt the people that you represent. We are going to get harmed whether Delegate Plaskett stays here, whether she win, lose, or whatever. She can leave. She will more than likely leave. And that is part of the problem
And
too.
you cannot excuse it, particularly with Stacey Plaskett, because the difference is Donna was a medical doctor. Stacey is an attorney. So she has more understanding of what she was doing when she took the position she did.
That's true.
And she brags about being a prosecutor.
That's true too.
And she bragged about being, hello, you don't gamble when you're coming from the juris or the division. You don't gamble. Yes, because you have a legal background that you're supposed to be basing your decisions on. Carla, you impressing me at all. But thanks for calling. I just got to move on for another one. Thank you very much.
Folks, I think gonna let me go. No, this
No,
one,
you ain't going
you
yet.
guys, yeah.
Good afternoon.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Good afternoon. You there?
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Yes,
Yeah.
good afternoon. Oh, jeez.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Carla.
And what you said in terms of safety, going after Trump and getting him impeached on his first term. You remember, she's not affiliated with a state.
Right.
She's an unincorporated territory representative.
Correct.
So all the more to use her just to be trying to impeach him, but she has no power because she's not state affiliated. And people could understand the difference.
Yes.
Yeah, but you see, you just used the wrong word because you said they use her. And my position is you are not supposed to let anybody use you, especially when you're coming from the area of a jurist. So this is why I cannot go along with what you people are telling me as to the reasons or whatever that she took this assignment. And I don't see that it could have been assigned to her or that she had to accept anything
Right.
if she understand and
okay.
realize the consequences
Okay, Miss
which
White.
she was supposed to
So-
with the knowledge and the training that she has.
Okay, so Miss Moore, let me say this to you. And
It was known that FD was talking to her, texting her to the time when there was time she was on the floor.
Yes.
He was talking to her.
yes,
So at that time, Trump and FD were best friends.
right.
So there you go. So all of them was going to get it together, and then they're trying to look at one hand wash another hand. That's
Carla,
to me.
yeah, and that's why the president said what he said, and people didn't understand what he was saying. He said, all of you want this information, and Democrats, when you guys see what really is there, you're going to have a problem. And that's what's happening now. Because are you still there, Carla? Okay.
Yeah, so I was just saying in court, all of that, what she was saying to the president Trump at the time, the conversation.
Yes.
It's all history. It's nothing, she just talk.
Right.
It's just history. The thing really there because she has no rights, no law. There's nothing, she's not affiliated with the state.
Right.
With the law. So,
Well, she's again, in the weeks and months to come, there's going to have a hearing, and my concern is that the hearing going to turn into what the Virgin Islands did and didn't do, and the same questions that I'm asking are like, when you were there at the EDA, yes, you weren't responsible for the certification and research, but you were there as legal counsel. When did you guys have a discussion about Jeffrey Epstein?
yeah.
You see?
So it was one big clown show or circus, but understanding the laws and the procedure way.
Correct.
It look good one way to the community, to the people, but when you really look at it on a legal term,
Yes.
it fits.
Yes, understand. All right, Carla, thank you. So, Ms.
Mr.
Moore,
Brown?
yes.
It's depression, becoming depressing.
Why you call it the president?
Because it seems like people are so ready to give an excuse for what is going on.
Many people like her.
Hello, I can't.
You don't like her?
No, no, it's about liking her because
That's what I'm saying.
it is about her
Performance.
decision.
Yes.
Yes. As I said, I don't care who you met. If you don't see something wrong with a person who mistreat a child, a mind, because 14 is still a child.
You're a child.
Okay?
18, until you're
Then,
18, you can't
As far as I
consent.
can see something wrong with
You
you.
cannot consent
And
until
you
18.
might be on the precipice of
Yeah.
being a fetching pedophile yourself.
Yes. 18. Well, let's backtrack. So that's how you tell who you're talking about. Well, okay. The views and the page as expressed by the
No,
host.
because how did you not see something wrong with that? I want to put it back and say, well, he did that. He served his time. It's over with.
And
No,
Yeah, he didn't stop.
everything,
He didn't stop. That's the key. He didn't stop.
all the whatever the
Yes.
experts tell you, this is an illness.
Right.
And then, and I'm going to tell you,
It's,
is that so? It's not something that somebody could stop. You're pedophile. You're pedophile for life.
yes.
So she
For
reading
some
that thing.
people, yes. Some people make a mistake
So
and they
she.
get punished and they
so-
don't do reoffend, but he was not one of
So,
them.
Mr. Brown, you're
Yes.
telling me that our delegate to Congress don't read them kind of research?
But this is what I'm asking. This is why I'm calling on the Attorney General who gave this information to the Congress. I hope that the Attorney General, when requests are made by our local media people, that he gives them as well. Because now all of this is in the public domain, and that includes the EDA meetings and the minutes that they had in reference to their discussion about this man. It is only fair. Don't tell me it's private meetings because you're giving it to the people in Congress and that's public.
I don't understand. I am the person we know this afternoon. Yes, Carla. Hello and welcome.
Yeah, maybe it's time on the time on you. So let me just say this quickly.
I hope you're in the financial too. Oh, here, come.
That's how you feel. That's how you feel people doing that. Let's go ahead. Defend.
I wasn't able to listen just now, but anyway, the children are very scared of what is happening. As I explained, Mario, and I continue to say on your show today, every day in counties, whether it's St. Lucie County, Martin County, Palm Beach County, children are being molested. And yes, even by ministers, men of the cloth,
I might have been away.
the children are scared. Let me explain you. I take it my time as a lot of other parents do to look out for the children. We attend PTAs, we attend this, we attend that. We have to form what we call like a neighborhood brigade. When school is starting and the children are on the way to school or the way to the bus stop, and when school is out, we in our private cars patrolling the area to make sure.
Mr. Names, if you ain't putting that in a statement to recommend to your people in St. Thomas to do what you explained in
Yep.
there, then I got a problem with you. Don't come tell me what you're doing in Florida because I'm doing a damn thing for me here in the VI. Okay? And you know that I always tell you, I focus with the VI. So what you're saying you're doing up there, if it's something you could translate out to say, hello, I suggest the parents and guardians take this position, then our conversation done now.
Peggy, and I quite understand you, but then you don't really be listening to me. I tell you, anything you have to say on the radio, I put in writing to the governor, and it pertains to education. So that
But wait. Mr. Nips, you put it in writing to the governor. The governor going out there to follow the children to school. What are you talking about? You yourself said the governor say you don't give a damn about education. So what are you writing the governor for? Say in the Daily News, if anything, you should write to put out the op-ed in the for people to see.
Peggy,
Don't play games with me, Mr. Nips. This is Mario.
Wow.
listen,
Yes,
I
Mr. David.
don't say nothing at all. I don't write nothing at all. What I'm saying is, I does this perfunctory. He is the head of the state.
Yeah, but he ain't doing nothing. And you yourself.
Oh,
Oh God.
I hear her. You ain't hear it up to today.
I hear it say, oh God, you ain't listening to me. That's what he said.
it goes to other departments and agencies. You want me to tell every director, every teacher, every this, every that?
It goes what? You write the governor and then he pass it on to his. That's what you're saying?
No, I didn't say that. I said I does that purposely to him because he's the head of state.
Okay.
But I sent it to, if it's a matter concerning housing, it goes to the housing people.
Yeah.
Education, it goes to the education people.
Yeah, but hello, hold on. No, you ain't talking education. You're talking about students. But what you were saying has to do with parents, have to do with guardians, because you was talking about being security for the children going to and from school. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, you're not.
So then the point is that ain't going to no governor and ain't going to no commissioner. It needs to go to the Daily News to be an op-ed. Right or wrong?
Well, everybody has their style and way of doing it.
Nibs, don't play games with me. All right? Yeah.
But why you always
Hello, because Nibs, I am out there and I am seeing how many people are suffering because of lack of information, lack of education, and I am not going to come here every Wednesday to host a show for people to talk bull twaddle and ain't helping move nothing. I am about improving situation. And if you ain't about improving and want to be politically correct, call the miseducator.
wait a minute. Are you saying I am talking twaddle?
You're telling me you're writing the governor, or you're writing a commissioner, you're writing a department, but you agreed,
Oh, Jesus.
Mr. Nims, you agreed that what you were saying had to do with parents. You ain't just said that?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ah,
I am saying that, okay, I'm using where I live as an example. The parents of their normal.
I understood that. And all I am saying is, if that be the case, the way you communicated on my show is to communicate to the parents in this district, in this territory, as to what you suggest is something that can be applied. But that isn't the way you was bringing it, and that's the way I was asking you to do it. Otherwise than that, it has no effect for my audience.
Okay, fine. You are saying then that you know that the parents in the island don't know what they know much people like me are in the Virgin Islands, they don't come on radio. I send them the information.
Oh, now you're sending to the
I
parents.
can't be everywhere.
Ah, yeah, all right. And then me, you know, I've heard from you. I have not, Mr. Brown, you see any I've heard from names in the Daily News?
So then God, he said, oh my Lord, and Jesus Christ. What's up?
Because I'm not Sergeant Monkey yet. I gave it to
Right.
parents and guardians.
Well, if you want to have effect, you should put it in the app and in the newspaper so hundreds of parents and guardians can see it. That's my point.
You telling me the only way that I could do it is your way of them?
Yeah, I know that was coming.
All right. You're gone and then mashed by your
Jimmy Weber said, you're there in Florida, you ain't in St. Croix to get the West treatment. But those of us who there was West women, we understand.
Because I asked him to open up his audience. That is a problem, and he started it my way.
Look how you
Instead of sending a letter to what you know, 3 or 4 parents, 5 parents, 10 parents. He damn sure don't know 100
See,
parents.
that's why you start. What you see, that's what you do.
I send letters to parents, not via the Daily News.
He gonna win this, you know.
How many parents, Mr. Nick?
You see,
Give me an approximation. How many parents?
Yeah.
Just one.
That's right, Nick. Give up.
All right, Mr. Nick. I will hear from you next week. We got to go. Me and Bron we got to get ready to close out. You go ahead and keep writing to your one parent. I will talk to you next week.
Fine, good. I understand. I am being told not to call you say to the morning.
But I just tell you I'm going to hear from you next week. Now you see, you getting a comprehension problem. I just told you.
Wow.
You take 41 way the Daily News. What are the guy?
No, I didn't say Avis. I never said anything about Avis. Okay? I said Daily News because I do know the only newspaper we have is the Daily News. And instead of you writing to one parent, suggesting something, if you know the idea is such a good one, what is wrong with you sending it to the Daily News to ask for it to be published?
Because you want to prove that you're more educated than me, and I said one parent.
Lord, Look at that. Don't hit me with that one, you know. Because you always talking, but people got a problem when you if you ain't got to educate. Don't hit me with
Wow.
that one, Mr. Names. What? Let we done with it right now because I don't see you feeling away and I am going to leave it alone. So I will talk to you next week, Wednesday.
I was being facetious when I said what? You should know that.
Because I asked you because you was talking all the
Oh, geez.
Mr. Nips, as I said, take the one letter. Take off the person name off the one letter. And take off that. Take off. Mr. Nips, take off the person name after one letter and send the letter to the Daily News. Eunice Bedminster and ask her to print it in the op-ed so that all the parents will have the idea.
No, there's
No,
no
you do the bad one.
We can-
I will not.
The views,
Okay.
folks, the views and opinions expressed by the host and the co-host is our own
Yeah.
and not the station.
And I got to call out what he say
you.
here what I'm no bad one. We might have no bad one on SCX this
See,
afternoon.
this is what happened when they come on. Everybody you get flare up, you get flare up. Then you get, I got carved up.
But the man is talking about some idea, something that they're doing in Florida
Yes,
to secure children.
yes,
I got no problem with that. But
Yes.
the point is, it ain't helping our children.
right.
So my point is, instead of talking about what you're doing in Florida, talk but say it in a matter of a recommendation that you're suggesting
Correct.
to parents in the VI
Right.
that would possibly help with the security of children to
Right.
and from school.
I think
He got a problem with that.
no, I think what's happening to, and I say this again, the Virgin Islands is changing rapidly on a lot of issues. And the voices are there, and a lot of it is focused on the Virgin Islands and our people here. And so, you know, we're going through changes. And so Mr. Ever, Mr. Nips talk and others, you know, that and focus on issues. And that's just how it is, you know. A lot of the focus now people want here on the territory. So, you know, but we still can learn from others, whether it's in Iraq, Afghanistan, Florida, wherever, and we have to move
Yeah,
on.
but put it in that way because what happened is the average man, when you're talking and you're just saying, well, what are you doing? They don't necessarily transmit or transfer that the fact that you're doing it there, that I can use it here.
That's true.
So this is why I'm saying, because I'm always thinking of my
I got to go.
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope that got short turn on.
Well,
Come
I
on,
don't know that.
let we go, let we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
fine, man, you know.
Right.
Let we go, let we go.
We'll see you
I'm
later.
not saying I have ice problem. There are problems, oh yeah. Bro, you never leave it, oh. Let me go. This show is over. Let me get this stream.